Hey everyone.
We are on and
hopefully we are live.
We are.
Woohoo! Can you guys let us know if you guys can hear us? We don't go live through the YouTube studio. We go live through a third party app called OBS, and we don't always know when we are going live. So, is it live? We should be. Hello everyone. Yes, they can hear us. Woohoo! Can you see us too? Hopefully you can. Hello everyone. Yay! How's everybody doing? It's been
Except for
a crazy day at our house. Or are we zoomed out?
How's everybody doing? It's been a crazy day at our house.
Oh God, gotcha.
Or are we zoomed out?
I don't know. We're gonna play.
Somebody, you guys are so great because somebody says to us not too long ago, you guys figuring your shit out at the beginning of every one of your episodes is going to be like your signature trademark from here on out. so funny. Oh, welcome Lisa. She says, first time catching you guys live. That's awesome. Oh, I love it. Okay. Oh, there we go. Oh, nice. We need to just do some like play around lives where we figure out like
which we do with every one of our lives.
Which we do with every one of our lives.
Guys, you're in the play around part.
Oh, thank you. Kathy says, Melanie, you're looking beautiful. My daughter just came home for lunch for work. She doesn't live with us anymore, but she'll come home for lunch with us sometimes. And I said, okay, we're gonna go live in about 10 minutes. She was like, are you gonna go like that? Oh yeah. Yes. Am I okay? It's cold here. We actually have a snowstorm going on. And I saw a couple of the comments earlier that Linda, yeah, be safe. She looks like you're in the middle of a big storm. Oh, let's see. Echoing, it doesn't seem like your mic is on. I'll hold it right up here close to us. Okay, there we go. Okay, so Cory's little sister just joined us.
Testing.
Miss Katie, she is actually moderating for us today and wanted to give her a big, huge shout out because her birthday was a couple days ago. So happy birthday, little sister. She is pretty much has joined us on every single one of our lives, probably been one of the most supportive of all of our siblings. And she has just been as cute as she can possibly be with us. Her and Emily both are pretty much on all of our lives. Cory, you can't see us because he has his head down. That's hilarious. Let me
downloading some nefarious revelation before I kick up. Start talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. There's all our happy birthdays to Miss Katie girl. Yeah, she's such a sweetheart. We really have appreciated Katie's support, and you get a couple of siblings like Emily and Katie, and we just so appreciative of them and everybody. So somebody says, please tell us about birthdays with all the siblings that you had. So we can actually both talk about this because we both had different situations, because in our family we all lived in separate homes, and so we didn't have a lot of birthdays where we had to celebrate with the whole family. But before we get into this, let me just remind everybody, because I meant to do this right at the beginning, now is the perfect time to start doing your own personal healing. So if you haven't started on a healing journey, if you are born to a human being and you live in a human body, you've experienced trauma of some sort. And so right now is the perfect time for you to start on a healing and working through that. And that's something that we really want to start, putting out on our channel, is to work on to do your own work, to do your own healing work. Oh my gosh, we have like 100 birds in our front yard. That was crazy. It's always time to heal. So you can be a better mother, you can be a better father, you can be a better, you can work with your family through a lens of healed instead of a lens of hurt. So just wanted to put that out there. But okay, so with birthdays, in our house, in my family, your birthday was like the only day of the year that you ever got really, really acknowledged, I think. And so it was like one of the most important things that we could experience throughout the year. And my parents would usually take us to the store. We'd get to pick out a gift. And it's funny, it's really not funny, it's kind of tragic. But growing up, I don't remember a time that my dad would come home that we didn't get beat. And one time on my sister's birthday, he says to us, I'm not going to spank you guys tonight because it's her birthday. Instead, we're going to go and have like a fun dinner. My little brother and I, we looked at my sister and we're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for having a birthday. Now we don't get spanked today. Like, isn't that horrible? But that was literally one of the only times I remember my dad coming home and not getting spanked because it was a birthday. But yeah, you'd get a gift. So that in polygamy, birthdays and anniversaries were the two main events of the year that you would get to actually be recognized and acknowledged. I had 34 siblings, and so it was like the one day of the year you got acknowledged. You saved up all your wishes for a birthday present of some sort. I remember I got a radio one year, and it was like a $15 radio, but that was insanely expensive for our family. So, but we didn't have discs or anything, so you had to hit record to record your favorite song. So I'd sit there and listen, hit record, and then get halfway through a song. So how'd you guys celebrate your birthdays?
We got cake. Usually they make some cake. No gifts really. So yeah, just some cake. We loved every time that they had birthdays because they'd usually make up a great big cake. A lot of times, if birthdays were really close together, we'd celebrate 2 or 3 of them at the same time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, ours was cake. Mine was right after Christmas, so I don't remember. I might have got some.
It was a
gifts.
month after Christmas.
I know, but they weren't gonna. We got our gifts at Christmas, so.
I know that is one of the hard
really
things.
There was too many of us. I mean, you got a new stick or a new shovel or some cool work item, but no, I don't. Maybe when I was younger, I probably got some toys, but I don't remember having too many toys growing up either. So.
Yeah. Typically, we didn't get a lot of toys. We would get some sort of, well, like I got my radio. That would be considered a toy. But in polygamy, you'll have and I'm sure you guys have heard this reference with sister wives and stuff. You'll get triplets or twins. We would call us twins. And so for me, I had a sister who was 4 months older than me and 4 hours older than me. We were born on the same day. And so we were the triplets. And so a lot of times our birthdays would get celebrated together. You didn't get your own birthday quite often as the family. So my dad would come to our house and we would have like a birthday something or other. But then the family would get together and do a if we did that. And my sister and our birthday was hard because I was the oldest and stupid responsible, and she was the youngest and stupid immature. And so it was really hard for us we clashed personality wise a lot because I thought she was so immature and she thought that I was ridiculously too old for my age. And so, but one year our parents made us Barbie birthday cakes. And we were like, what? It was crazy town. Like that was something that was just way out of the norm. And so my sister Emily that's on here, she's got a sibling that's her age too. So we would call them the twins type. We would celebrate their birthdays together. And then there's a lot of triplets too in our family. You guys had a lot of.
Katie says that when they got to pick out a half a gallon of ice cream that was only theirs.
Oh, really?
So, that is awesome. Yeah.
So little things that in normal society they would be like, okay, you could get ice cream every day of the week at our house, but not in polygamy. And in polygamy, more often than not, we didn't buy ice cream. We homemade it.
Yeah, we were homemaking ice cream when I was littler. So.
Yeah. So you don't get a lot, but it was the one time of the year that I felt like my mom and dad tried to make it more special than not. My birthday was on Flag Day, or Heber C. Kimball's birthday, who was major founder of one of the major leaders in the Mormon religion. And so every year they would have a reunion on his birthday, which tended to fall on my birthday. And so a lot of times my birthday would get delayed or whatever for the reunion that we would go to. And that was fun. Let's see, what did you call your other mothers, and how about your bio moms? Like, did you call your bio mom's mom and the other ones by their first name? So we did. Yeah. I would call my mom, and then I would call my other moms like I'll just say Aunt Pamela. I would say Aunt Pamela. And that's how we would refer to them. But our siblings, we only ever referred to them as siblings. It was just like, oh, this is my sister. Oh, this is my whatever. But we always refer to our other mothers as aunts.
Yeah, I guess we would do that kind of out when we were talking about them. But when I was talking to them, I would call them, we had nicknames for them, Joycey and Grandma Nona or Grandma, and yeah, we had different, Charcoal was one, so yeah, that we had different nicknames for each one of the moms or that they would answer to, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and so we definitely, like for me, I only called them aunts because my dad married his last wife when I was 14, and then he didn't marry the next one till I was 24, and so there's a 10-year gap there, and I've never referred to her as an aunt or anything. I just call her by her first name because I didn't really grow up to her. My sister, one of my other sisters is on here. She says, "Yay for shout out for the triplets." So she's one of the triplets. So my brother had a birthday yesterday, and then my sister has a birthday tomorrow, and they're the same age. And then my other little sister, her birthday's in August. So they're all three the same age, three different moms. So they're the triplets. So yeah, what?
I just wanted to answer some of the questions that were going up way too
Oh,
high.
let's go.
So
Let's go back.
they were
Sorry.
asking about homeschool.
Hello from Norway. Hi,
Hi,
Norway.
Norway.
Can you please share a little bit about how school or homeschool was? Did the girls and the boys go together? Did you learn about other religions?
Yes, and yes. Yes, we all went to the community school from, I don't know what it would be, 4, 5, 6. What would they be called? We went to a community school there in Pinesdale till the 8th grade. Then most of the kids went down to Corvallis, which was a public school. But my parents continued on what was called Pines High. And so we studied, went completely through high school at that point. And then once you had finished all of your packets to get a graduation from high school, then you could go down to the county court, wherever it was in the county, and do a GED. And so that's what I did, got my GED, and then I could apply for a job. And that's what I did. At 17, I got a job at a local restaurant down in Hamilton, Montana.
Yeah.
So, yes, boys and girls went to school. We all went to school together. Yes, there was the Jehovah's Witnesses that were up there. There was a couple Christian churches, things like that. We went and learned. One of our teachers took us down there, and we went to their church house to see how they performed church, and just to see how different churches were. And then they would come back and say, "This is what they teach, and this is how we teach it different." So.
And that's interesting because
Yeah, but that was something that was unique to Pines High and the teacher that was
yeah, because we weren't
there.
taught that in public school, and then of course we weren't even taught that privately. Like my parents
Yeah.
didn't really want us to learn anything about any other religion.
Well, and I think the reason that they were doing that is because most of the kids had went down to the public school, and so were associating with a lot of people in the valley
Oh, that
because
would
they
make
were all
sense.
going to public school. They wanted us to go and kind of socialize with other people outside of the community, and so we went to a Jehovah's Witness thing. We went to a Christian church. We went down to an LDS church and hung out to see how they. It wasn't necessarily the church, but it was their church services for the young kids. So
Their youth activities or youth.
well,
Okay.
yeah, it's not even that. Whatever it is at the beginning, where in public school you could go to seminary. So they would have a seminary.
Yeah,
class.
I went to seminary. My dad required all of
Yeah.
his kids that they had to go to seminary.
And so most of the communities, the LDS had a seminary class. So we would go
That's
and
very
sit in
true.
on their seminary class to see what they were teaching. We went to the Jehovah's Witness seminary class to meet the youth in their
Was that
group. So
something that your dad had you guys do, or was
one
that
of the teachers? So
okay? I was
the
curious
other
about that.
the other guy that was
Interesting.
teaching.
We learn so much
So
about each
Mr.
other doing
Yeah.
these too, because these are some questions that we've never really thought to ask each other. So we love doing the lives too, because we learn a lot about each other.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we went to different seminary classes from different churches down there, just to see how each one of us, and he was really connected with all the other communities and knew people within them. So we went down to meet the youth down there. So.
Cory's dad was very much of a political activist back in the
Yeah.
day too, so he was really involved in a lot of different communities because he was so politically active. So I could see why he
Yeah.
would want you to have a broader education like that.
Mhm.
Where in my family it wasn't. It was like, this is the only way. This is what you're doing. I wanted to answer this one too. Adriana says, since you say that after moving to Las Vegas, the Browns stopped living proper polygamy. I don't know that they stopped living. I wouldn't say necessarily
Yeah.
proper polygamy. They just they just started living plural monogamy.
Yeah.
Do you think that Melanie's parents actually lived polygamy or not? My parents lived plural monogamy. That's 100%. There's no question about that. My mom used to joke with my dad all the time that he was a plural monogamist. So,
And most AUB members do live plural monogamy.
yeah, a huge portion of them do. Most of them don't live together,
Yeah.
or they live in like homes that the Browns had where they each have their own section.
Yeah, and that's usually what's built, but you're usually invited into a united order, and then you can build that special kind of home where they're all, where everybody is now living more in a commune type situation. But my dad was weird. He had two kitchens, one on the main floor and one in the basement. And the basement kitchen was usually set up for doing the canning, the prepping of food, the putting away of food, because that's where all the food storage was. That wasn't set up to do a lot of the heavy duty cooking. The upstairs kitchen was set up, and so all of the wives shared both of the kitchens, depending on what they needed to do. Where you see in some of these other families, each wife has their own kitchen. So yeah, each family learns how to do it different.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Right. So yeah, we definitely, my family definitely lived plural monogamy, and I think that's one of the things that's so hard on my family right now. My mom's probably on here. Hi, Mom. We're gonna talk about you for a minute. Is that I feel like when on my 16th birthday, my dad doubled up a lot of his wives, and so 2 lived in one house, 2 lived in the other house, and because he just had the 4 wives up until I was about 24. And that was the first time I think that my dad, well, we lived together when I was little, but then we separated when I turned 3, and I'm one of the oldest children. And so that was really hard on my family because none of the wives had really lived together like that. And so then after that, he did keep a couple of wives living together. They bought a house in the farm area out here and had, bought like a big 7,000 square foot house or something like that, moved a couple wives in there. And so up until that point, he had never really had wives living together. And then they always lived, like wives typically did live together after that. Excuse me. And so then when my parents bought their compound, I call it a compound. My mom says it's a complex. I say it's a complexing compound now. It's a 4-plex that my dad had 4 of his wives in up until one just passed away recently. And that's what I said to him. I'm like, it's like you guys started polygamy all over again. Because yes, they all have their own units, but now it just takes them looking out the window to see where my dad is. So they're watching out their kitchen windows going, oh, I wonder where he's at. Whose house has he spent? Oh, he spent way too much time over there. So now it's like they're starting all over again, and they're having to learn how to not be jealous and resentful and angry with each other all over again. So it's really, there's multiple layers. Like here, they've been living polygamy for, thank you guys so much. I'm seeing a couple of you guys.
Power Ranger Tea Time, thanks for.
Power Ranger, yeah. And then Meredith Andrews, thank you guys so much for being a part of our membership. So yeah, I think that when you start living plural marriage and you're all living together, that really has a lot more benefits because people really do learn the true meaning of united working together as a family. But when you don't, you live plural monogamy. That's really what it is.
Well, a lot of the, when you have 9 wives and 39 kids, you need to live together to be able to
Financially afford anything.
Because you're coming together and putting together food and cooking together. The wealthy people, I guess, could afford the 4 or 5 different homes to do that if you were super wealthy. But yeah, most financially, they were living off 2 or 3 incomes to support 9 or 10 adults and 39 children. It's insane.
Yeah.
And Robin never got the education I did.
I know.
So,
I saw that comment too. It's hard to believe that Cory and Robin had the same education, because they did. They went to the same school.
She might have went to the beginnings of.
I think she had her
the elementary part of it while they were up there, but they moved down.
Yeah, but I think, wasn't she a teenager when they moved? Or
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. But she would have went. She's already said she went to public school. There were so many people that grew up in Pinesdale that went to public school. I never got that opportunity.
Yeah, a lot of the people on the ranch back when the ranch first started, everyone went to the private school. But as the ranch expanded and more families moved up there, a lot of the families were bused down to the local schools. And so they don't.
Are Jehovah Witnesses still active? They used to come to the door trying to convert us, but
that was decades ago.
So growing up in Pinesdale, where you either had Mormons or the Mormon missionaries would come to the door and knock on the door. They're brave coming up there, or the Jehovah's Witnesses. So when people would be coming up to the door, we're like making guesses. Are they going to be Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, it wasn't a guess, because the Mormon missionaries had tags. Jehovah's Witnesses just came up. But yeah, we had Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormon missionaries coming up to Pinesdale all the time when we were growing up. I don't know if they...
It seems like they were more prominent before 2000s.
Yeah, and then I moved down here to Utah, and it's only Mormon missionaries. I've never had a...
We've had Jehovah's Witnesses here at this house.
Have we?
Yeah.
Oh.
2 or 3 times we first moved in here when we first built.
Okay. So yeah, they're probably.
But I was
active,
home with the babies a little bit more, so that's probably why I saw
Yeah,
them.
it was Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons that were always coming to the door up there for us. So.
Yeah, they did a lot of proselyting up there in Montana. Somebody says, Karina says, Denmark here, I love what you're doing, and Cory, you have the bluest eyes I have ever seen, and you both have wonderful voices. I love listening to you. Thank you. He does have the bluest eyes, and it's funny because he has a couple different blue shirts, and I love it when he wears them because his eyes get really, really blue. And both of our kids have that, and the contrast is so funny because my mom has 11 children. Half of them are blonde and blue, the other half are really dark like me. And then our children have my 3 older kids are Hispanic, so they've all got the dark like black hair, darker skin, really dark eyes, and then our 2 younger ones are blonde and blue. So it's funny. People confuse our younger ones and don't realize they're even my children because they look so much like Cory. Yeah. Let's see. Melanie and Cory, have you never really liked a mom who was terrible like Robin? Yes, I've never. The one that, in fact, I was just texting my sister Emily right before we got started on this live. We're talking about Easter, and I really have never. The one wife that I've struggled with the most. The one wife that I was considering, hey, we should maybe think about having them come over for Easter. I never thought that I would ever get to that place where I could be forgiving or that I could be accepting. And I feel softened towards her, and she has changed so significantly that there's times where I'm like, oh gosh, I kind of miss some of the good things. I think that when you get so bruised and hurt by these people who have their own hurts and their own bruises, and then it's hard as a child to forgive some of that. And so I feel like I'm in a place now where I'm starting to learn how to forgive some of this, because even going through this, we were saying this morning, we've been in some deep conversations this morning. We were saying that watching Sister Wives recaps and stuff like that has brought up a lot of stuff for us that we didn't realize that we had going on, and maybe there's more hurts that we didn't realize that we could still work through and heal. And so yeah, it is. But the one wife I still really struggle with, and I don't know that will come to a resolution before she passes. So I don't know. How do you feel?
I feel like that part of my healing journey, especially when I was excommunicated and kicked out of it, I had a lot of mothers that were very loving and charitable. And yes, I might have butted heads with them. I was always questioning when I was a kid. I was probably one of those why. So I was probably annoying and stuff, and so there were certain times that we butted heads growing up and everything. But when I got excommunicated and was out, I had so much love poured out from my mothers, from my family, that they felt it was wrong and welcomed me back. And I left. I came down here, and they were reaching out to me, sending me letters, calling, and we did a lot of healing from growing up in polygamy and going through the frustrations that now I have worked to create a really good relationship with my mom. So I've got 3 of them that are still alive, and I try to go up and visit each one of them when I go back up to Montana and give them hugs and let them know I appreciated them.
Yeah.
A hard life to live, and they lived it. So, and
yeah, I definitely think we do have a lot more charity for them now that we're older, and we see like how much they actually had to experience and how much they had to go through, and they're just trying to there's that saying that hurt people hurt people. But there's also the flip side of that healed people heal people. And so, that's one of the things I feel like we've given them. We've had a lot more charity, I feel like, now that we're older, because we're like, gosh, these women had to live with each other who hated each other. And when you have to interact with a child that looks just like this woman that is sleeping with your husband that you hate, like, I can imagine, like, I don't know how good of a person I would be. So yeah, I try to have a little bit more charity when it comes to that. Somebody asked, we beat this question to death, but I'm just going to hurry and answer really quick. Did the AUB get public assistance like the FLDS did, or did you avoid getting it? What about Medicaid? Yeah, some people did, but it wasn't normally taught. It wasn't taught as a way to bleed the beast. We were never taught that kind of stuff. And so, but we've talked about that in tons of other lives.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that did it. I'm sure there is.
My family didn't always do that, but some of them did.
Our family didn't, because we grew up on a compound. We created, and like I've said before, my dad didn't want the government to know anything about any of us. So no, he wouldn't go and get government assistance type stuff.
So you can answer this question or not. It's totally up to you. Or you can just give like a real simple answer. I don't care. Cory, I would like to know what Robin has done that makes you think of her mom, Alice. This is a complicated question.
Yeah, I just knew Alice growing up. She's what you see on Sister Wives, and some of the manipulation and some of the holier than thou, the perfect wife.
I'm going to grace you with my knowledge.
Yeah. Her mom, she learned that from somewhere, and that was her mother. So.
Yeah. Okay, so how did the AUB refer to the Pope? Is he seen as a holy figure at all? Ooh.
I wouldn't say the AUB. No. I knew of the Pope, and that's because I had.
Yeah, I didn't really know that much. I wasn't taught other religions.
So I had mothers or grandmothers that had grown up. And so when the Pope had passed away and they were doing a new Pope, he kind of turned on the TV and
we're like, what is this?
Well, they wanted to see what it was, and we were like, what's going on? And so they kind of explained the Catholic Church to us. We were educated from Lutheran. My dad was Lutheran. My mother was LDS. We had Catholic mothers, so they were all had some sort of religious background,
Mhm.
And so then they all kind of, so our family was somewhat aware. We watched on TV as they were doing the choosing a new pope. I asked questions about it, but no, as far as the AUB was concerned, they probably never even knew what was going on with the Pope or the Catholic Church.
I wasn't taught other religions, but I was taught to respect these holy men. Yeah, the Buddha type stuff. I was taught to respect that
teachers.
because there's a level of superiority, and this is where we've talked about this, maybe not white supremacist, but religious supremacy. And there's a lot of religious supremacy that we were taught growing up. And so one of the things was, these people are out there teaching what they know, and it's not as high as what we know. It's not as good, it's not as holy as what we know. I don't want to get myself in trouble by saying this, because I'm definitely not trying to diss on anyone else's belief system. These are just some of the things that we were taught. This is where we were taught the religious supremacy, is because it was almost like you could feel sorry for these people, that they were only being taught a certain level of beliefs because that's all they were worthy of at that time. And so I feel like, maybe you guys were different, but we were taught to have respect. It's funny because it doesn't feel respectful. It feels like a backhanded compliment, way. But it's almost like we were taught, respect these people who are out there trying to do good for the world. They just don't. They're teaching some truths. They just don't know all the truths. And so we feel sorry for them that they're only educated at this level of truth of religion. But at the same time, we appreciate that they're out there trying to teach humans who would normally tear each other apart and kill each other how to be decent, if that makes sense. So it doesn't make sense, but that's the best way I can explain it, hopefully. So yes, I was always taught to have more respect for these religious teachers, just also pity them because they don't know as much as we know. Okay, so I want to answer this question too, we'll answer this one really quick. Okay, first of all, sorry, I'm skipping 3 questions. Here's my ADD kicking in today. You're gonna have to tell the bag of flour story when you're not as nervous, because it's really funny when he tells it really funny. But somebody says I would definitely not share a kitchen. There would 100% be a bag of flour flying around. So that story is going to be one of those that sticks, but it's funny. Okay, and then somebody says, did you have to reach a certain age for the sacrament, like we did our first Holy Communion and penance in the 2nd grade? Yes, in the LDS church, it's taught 8 years old. Yeah. So once you get baptized into the church, then you can partake of the sacrament. But up until then, you can't.
And I didn't get baptized until I was 9 years old. So,
yeah,
because my mom was out of town.
Yeah.
And so they waited. For some reason, we waited till my next birthday, 9 years old, is when I got baptized.
Yeah.
And then I could partake of the sacrament.
And in my family,
and I chose not to most of the time.
We all got baptized on the same day because there was several of us that were the same age, and so yeah, and then that's just when you take it. I want to answer this one. Spooky Micah says, Mel, when you were courting with your ex, what qualities did you look for in a sister wife? Just wanted her to be over 16.
Well, you failed.
She was 16 at the time.
That's high.
Yeah, he was 20.
Standard,
he was 26. She was 16, and I was 18, and it felt so predatory to me. And truthfully, it didn't feel like in my opinion, didn't matter. His qualifications were, she was blonde. Oh, and he wanted a blonde. That was pretty much it. I don't think he really cared about anything else other than that she was blonde. Now the girl that he did want to date, she was pretty high ranking in the AUB.
Royalty.
She would be considered more royalty than Christine would be considered. And she was blonde. So those were the two qualifications that made her quality material for us. And I felt like she was 16. I was a child. He married me a week into 17. My snarky side's going to come out on this. Sorry. And he was 25 when we got married. I was barely into 17. Yeah. And then he started dating her when so right after I turned 18, and she would have just been 16. Now she did turn 17 during that courtship. And that was fun because I had to tell him, he was so not attentive to anything. even Christmas or birthdays. On our first anniversary, he said, "Oh, are we going to celebrate this? I thought we'd celebrate it when it matters, like 5 years or 10 years." So those are the things that mattered to him. And so when she turned 17, I had to remind him, "Hey, why don't you go get her a dozen roses? I'm sure she'd really appreciate that," because you just didn't get flowers.
Such a good sister.
I was trying to be a good sister wife.
You were like Robin at that point.
Oh my gosh, I knew all of it. And so, yeah, I just did not have any interest in, I feel like I was so young, and it hit me upside the head so fast that I didn't really have a lot of time to consider anything other than that I just didn't want her to be a child. So, okay, we'll keep going on this one. You said your dad kept in touch with you said that Robin kept in touch with your dad, asking him for advice on polygamy. Did they decide that they were not living polygamy right? Was she trying to reshape the family to comply? He didn't go into a lot of detail other than he just, counseled her for a lot of time, a lot of years. And he didn't really go into a lot of detail. But yeah, I mean, every time a new wife comes into the family, there's an adjustment period that's really hard. And they just didn't show a lot of that on Sister Wives. We're just starting, I wasn't sure if we were going to do the watch because I was like, ew, do I really want to do this? But the interesting part to us is watching the integration of Robin coming into the family and seeing some of those little hiccups. And so we're starting season 3 today. And we've been delaying and kind of putting it off. But we did a Q&A video that we just posted. So if you haven't seen that, we posted that Monday night. And then part 2 will come out tomorrow, that we filmed Monday night as well, where we just took all of your questions that we've been getting in the comments and getting it on emails. We still have more, so if we didn't get to your questions, we will do more. But yeah, we're just trying to answer some of your guys' questions, so that'll come out tomorrow. Let's see.
How did our ancestors join the faith? Were they first members?
Our parents were first. All 4 of our parents were first members.
Yeah. So my dad and his first wife became Mormons, were taught by the missionaries when they were in the military, became Mormons, moved out here to Salt Lake, and then met the AUB leadership. My mother had also met some of the people in the AUB leadership. She was Mormon already. She was born into it, and so yes, every one of the wives that my dad married, all 9 wives, were initially, they weren't from the AUB previously. They all came into the AUB from different religions, mostly Mormon. So
same with mine.
Mostly LDS, I should say.
I want to read this one too. Cory's eyes sparkle when he looks at you, Melanie, and when he makes a swipe at Robin. It's so funny because it's true. When he gets this little gleamer in his eyes, and I'm like, oh gosh. Or he'll come out of the office and he'll be like, Mel, guess what? And he'll start to say something. I'm like, oh gosh, here we come. You can always tell that his you can always tell he's about to say something probably inappropriate at that point. Let's see. Did you see the breaking news about Coyote Pass? Do you think it's true? You know what? Cory hasn't even. We talked a little bit about it this morning. We've seen a smidgen about it, and I've got a couple text messages about it. I think it's hilarious that it took this long for this to happen, but at the same time, I never thought that this would happen in a million years.
Did they divide it then?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
Apparently 4 ways, so they each own 25% of it.
Nice.
And so, which seems fair to me. Like literally, I get Robin and Cody are a unit, but at the same time, what if they weren't? They should get it. They should split it the 4 ways. But yeah, somebody says
Cody's
I call it
holding
machine.
on to that part for Christine eventually. So when she comes back and asks for forgiveness and.
But yeah, I'll eat my words. I never thought that this would happen, and I'm happy to see that it happening because I hope it sets a precedence for other plural families and wives in these kind of situations. Now, this would, I 100% with every fiber of my being, don't believe this would have ever happened if it didn't have the national attention that it has.
Didn't they have to take him to court?
No, apparently they settled.
Disagreement?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I haven't really followed that much on it, but yeah, apparently no, they just agreed and went to title companies and did it. Somebody says that it's called a mischievous twinkle. Yes,
yeah.
Cory has a mischievous twinkle all the time, and my mom can even see it. And what's funny is he'll be sitting there laughing about something and looking at his phone, and I'm like, oh gosh, what are you laughing at? But yeah, I think it's crazy. I am excited to see it. I hope that it helps my mom in the things that my mom has going on, I hope it helps a lot of women in these that find themselves in these unfortunate situations. So Melanie and Cory will be your trauma counselors after watching King Curls. Be extra toxic because we love you both and you're such amazing parents and people. Thank you. Elizabeth says, sorry, I do not mean to derail anyone, but to ask about notes to self memberships. I understanding that you are now offering memberships. If so, I will definitely be joining. So we are still learning about this kind of stuff, but I believe that yes, we do have a membership on there, and I'm going to start uploading more like photos and stuff like that of our families, of like us growing up, and the things that we were doing in the membership part of it. So yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna start sending, maybe doing. We're going up to Montana in a week, so
Yeah.
I was gonna do some background videos and maybe pictures and stuff of where I grew up and
Yeah.
the compound. Maybe even the farm we had, but I think that's all subdivided now. So
Yeah. Yeah, so we're getting ready to go and we'll do some filming up there. Somebody has a question. Do you think you would have stayed if you weren't excommunicated?
no. No.
Yes.
No, I wouldn't have. I don't believe I would have. So I was already disgruntled. I would have never been considered faithful enough to go through their AUB.
Well, you would have.
all
You're
that stuff.
no different than any other man up there in Pinedale. You just were honest about it.
Yeah.
Where they
Right,
weren't
that's true.
honest.
That's
Most
true.
of them weren't honest about it. But yeah, when he got excommunicated, it was funny because yeah, the people that he Cory, somebody says, Cory, that's a firm no. All these exclamation points. Yeah.
You're moving ahead on. So
Yeah,
no, I wouldn't have been.
I think eventually you would have come back around. At that point, no, you weren't. But you did a year of serious repentance and a year of serious, like, hey, what do I need to do? You followed all the rules to a T for a whole year, paid tithing, you did everything you needed to do to come back into good graces with the leadership, and then they still gave you the middle finger and said, get out.
I did, but I was doing it not to become good graces. I guess more along the lines of penance.
You were just fulfilling
been
a penance.
properly shamed, yeah. So
yeah, I don't know.
I don't
And
think I would have.
yeah.
I wouldn't have.
He might not have. I think
don't think I
eventually when the problem with programming and cults is that it's so deep within you, and yes, you might go through a rebellious streak or a rebellious period of time, but like one of the girls that Cory got excommunicated over, I mean, he lived a year of solid penance, did everything correctly, and she went and got remarried or went and married somebody almost immediately.
But I did that mostly on the advice of. It wasn't the community; it was on the advice of my parents.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. When you're raised in a cult, it doesn't matter. It's the shame and guilt that your parents put on you, the community puts on you, the leadership puts on you. It's a heavy responsibility that you feel like you have to be, that you don't just walk away from very easily.
Yeah.
So maybe would you have left for a time? Probably. Would you have gone back? Possibly. Maybe not. I know the first time I left, I thought there was no way I was going back. I ended up going back for 2 years.
But I felt like the penance process was the process that really got me to leave. They wanted me to study, and so to study and to learn how everything, and because of me studying and learning, I was like asking so many questions, and that's probably why they excommunicated me too. So I was asking too many questions and not being humble enough, so obedient enough. Right.
Well, and it's easier if he was a boy or if he was a girl, then I would say it's 100% for sure he'd be going back in, because when it's boys, it's easier to keep them on the outside because they're competition. And so let's just treat them like complete garbage and complete crap and get them out so that they no longer have to compete for our women, our girls. And where with girls, it's like, no, come on back in, because you need 3 to 5 women for every one guy. And so I think it's easier for them to just get get the guys out and keep them out. Somebody asks, is your name spelled with an E or no? It's just Cory. No E on there. But
he
gets both. That's why he says he wasn't properly excommunicated from the AUB, because they spelled it with an E. So that guy got excommunicated.
Yeah, some other guy got excommunicated and written out of their book of the Lamb of God. So
yeah. Somebody says, I was honestly fooled by the first 2 seasons of Sister Wives. I was even looking into polygamy, learned that lesson. To see Cody as an absentee father now is disgusting to me. Yeah, and he's so typical of most typical polygamist men. His actions now towards his children is no different than I see 99% of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's very, very sad. Okay, somebody says, watching, 220 of us watching, but only 69 likes. Hit that like button. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's see. Katie, did the current leader heal any of the rifts caused by Lynn Thompson, the previous leader? So the current leader, my dad, I don't know that it's healed a lot of the rifts. I hear both ways. I hear that he is healing a lot of stuff because he feels more inclusive. And then at the same time, I also hear that he's causing more rifts because he's excommunicated people for things like unrighteous dominion, which is also known as just abuse. And so I've been hearing both sides of it, but the wounds that went when Lynn Thompson was the prophet are pretty deep.
Yeah.
So I'd be surprised if it's healed
most
easily.
of the people that left the AUB through those, they were left for a reason.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be swayed back, because every one of those council members supported that prophet being put into the position he was.
And how do you support somebody who is accused of child abuse, child essaying, that kind of stuff? How do you justify that? And I asked both of my parents. My mom's on here. Sorry, Mom, you just get thrown under these buses. I'm so grateful that you're so forgiving to me. But I asked, how do you support this? How do you support this man? And I think the sexual abuse was one of the biggest things. And then also they jumped prophet, or they jumped leadership. Mm-hmm. So Lynn Thompson was like 3 people down the line. So they jumped over 2 other people to put Lynn Thompson as a prophet. And so the response that I got was, well, I've prayed about it, and the Lord works in mysterious ways, and we don't always understand the Lord's, reasoning for things. But meanwhile, that damage was pretty severe.
And they all supported him. So by them all supporting him, people aren't going to go, oh, okay, we're going to come back to this new prophet who actually supported that old prophet in his prophecies, in his nefarious revelations. So
Yeah. So I think I think that the wounds are pretty deep. It would take years to try to heal some of that. And I don't know. I don't know that and a lot of things, I've loved my dad most of my life. We've had huge falling outs here and there. I've probably not gotten along with him more often than I have gotten along with him. But it's hard to listen to somebody who doesn't practice what they preach. And it's hard to listen to somebody who is currently treating a wife the way that he teaches everybody not to do. And so my dad is Cody Brown on steroids at times. And so it's really hard to support that. And, like I said in one of my other lives, if you are currently an AUB member, how do you listen to and support people who, my dad had 34 children, 4 of his children are still in this religion, 30 of them are not. How do you listen to people like that? 2 of his wives that get up and profess to be these wonderful priestesses and goddesses unto their husband literally the one has 0 children still in the AUB. 0. And yet she gets up there and teaches everybody else how to
Be a mother.
how to be a mother in this, how to be a priestess unto your husband and a queen unto your husband. The other one has like 10 children and she has one that lives this way. And so it's hard to, am I cynical today? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
And so, yeah, it's just hard to listen to that. It's hard to believe some of it.
That question you're going to get cynical about.
What?
Who receives the tithes and what do they do with it? Is there accountability? No. So the tithes are supposed to come down to the main AUB headquarters down here in Utah, and then the AUB basically decides how those tithes are dispersed among the different communities, if they're building stuff or doing things like that.
And there's still leadership pockets that need to be lined, and they're going to collect your tithing and do whatever they feel like they need to with it. It's none of your business.
So, as a cynical outsider that no longer pays tithes and doesn't know what the tithes go to anymore, or doesn't care really, I would say absolutely. The track record of the AUB is no, it's not. There's no accountability, because they feel like as leaders of the AUB, their accountability is to God and whatever God.
And not you. You're a lowly peasant. You're the one who works for the money. You just give it to them. You don't deserve accountability.
Accountability. So.
And you see, we're both being cynical now. But Lynn Thompson, he was accused and proven of stealing tithing, laundering money out of the tithing, and yet he was still made to be the prophet at a later period of time. And now I understand that his son is now being accused of that, because he put his son in charge of tithing. And so now his son, now these are alleged, is allegedly, but where's that accountability? It's not. You just put your head down, go to work, and pay your tithe.
And here's the reason why. There are rules that you agree to follow when you are a part of this cult, and one of them is not to speak ill
of the Lord's anointed.
And so when you, as not one of the Lord's anointed, go and say, hey, I want accountability, and you look in to see how they're spending the money, and it's not how you feel like it should be spent, or maybe the whole community doesn't feel like, well, they're not going to talk ill of the Lord's anointed, because that's, the Lord, then they get all humble and they're like, well, the Lord probably guided him to buy a new Porsche, so he needed that to lure a 16 or 18-year-old new wife, or I don't know. No. So
they're basically
you're
zero
not
accountability.
supposed to. There is no accountability, because if you try to speak up and hold somebody accountable, you're speaking against. It's an oxymoron. Yeah. You're speaking against the Lord's anointed. So.
And who are you to question the Lord's anointed?
Exactly.
So yeah, it is really complex. I mean, I'm not going to try to diss on the Mormon church right now. I know a lot of people that watch us are LDS, and I understand that. But when your church hides billions of dollars from its members and goes to extensive lengths to hide that money, it makes you kind of question what's happening. In a cult, you don't even necessarily have to go to that extensiveness to hide that money. You just tell people to shut up and put their heads down and go back to work.
Yep.
And that's really what happens in here. Okay, Nicole.
The only accountability with tithing is if you're paying enough, at least that 10% or 20%.
Yeah.
So,
well, you were lower status than I was, so I only had to pay 10. Somebody says, hi from New Jersey. I'm learning so much from you both. And Mel, you don't talk over Cory. He's just slow to jump in. Yeah. Pick your shit up, babe. You're so slow. Thank you. No, Cory's definitely a lot more methodical about what he says, and where I definitely just like, and then, oops, I messed that up. Let's take that back.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Visiting other places. Oh, go ahead.
No. You're reading two up. Okay.
Visiting other places of worship different than ours requires an offering, and participating in a service is hugely not allowed. Yeah, it's interesting. When I very first met my first Jewish friend, I was so excited. I was 21 when I met him, and I was like, because I had never really had any friends outside of that religion, and it was fascinating to me, and I loved it. And we just sat and talked forever. And he would tell me, all of his thoughts and beliefs and why they believed certain things. And I was so fascinated by it. Listening at work and trying not to scream out loud at that last statement, as long as she's over 16. Bravo and well said, Miss Melanie. Yeah, thank you. That one, I mean, it just doesn't, it makes no sense to me, but I always said I loved that we came from, I always bragged that we came from a group that wasn't as extreme as the other ones, but it was. We just sometimes get blind to it. Somebody says, in Utah, are all your political leaders Mormon? I looked up this Utah Senate the other day, and it was astonishing how similar they all looked. Very few women, too. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
there's a good portion of the state of Utah that is ran by religious.
Well, I think for the first time in a long while, the state of Utah has almost like 50-50. 50% of the citizens here consider themselves Mormon, 50 do not.
Yeah.
So that's the first time that balance has come in, because usually it's a huge majority of the state is Mormon. So yes, a lot of representatives here in the state have been Mormon, and usually that. I'm sure there's some that aren't, but yeah, they've been running the state for many, many years. It's about, we're at a 50-50 now.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, what was the pitch to get your parents to convert to the AUB? I've talked about this a couple of times on a couple of different podcasts that we've done, or lives. Honestly, I feel like back in the 60s and 70s, if you looked at the collective energy, especially in the world, there was a lot. We had just come out of some major wars. People really wanted the sense of belonging. They wanted to know, where do they fit in? Where do they belong? And they didn't always feel, there was just cults popping up everywhere because people wanted this sense of belonging, and they wanted to do better for the world, because we just experienced all these horrific wars, and you've got all these veterans coming back with PTSDs and all sorts of things. And so you've got the people at home watching all this, and I just feel like the collective energy was just peace, love, and belonging. And those are primary breeding grounds for cults, for people who want to take advantage of other people. And so you've got all of these different cults all over California. They were popping up everywhere. And so, and then they turn nefarious after a while because of, the greed of the people who are putting these together. And so I think that's really what my parents were sold on too, is that sense of belonging and that sense of feeling like you were going to do something that was more important than the average person, because you are now going to be a part of this, specific, we're a group of people that were the only ones on the planet that knew exactly what God wanted. And you were going to be a part of that. Like, how amazing would that be, right? So they were sold that.
Well, and there was a lot of changes going on. My dad came into the Mormon church, and he joined the Mormon church because he was like, oh, okay, this is a cool new religion. But then he started studying it, and he started studying a lot of the old books. He was getting a lot of the old books. And as he's studying more and more and asking his leaders who were within there, well, what about the law of, they're teaching the law of consecration, the law of united order. How come we're not doing that as a church? They're teaching this. They're teaching polygamy. How come they're not doing that as a church? And he was given we had a reason why they weren't doing it, is because what he was taught was it was because the government was coming in and basically stopping the church from doing it. But there are people who are living it underground. Well, I'd like to talk to those people and see why. And so he just kept studying the religion, which I guess a lot of people were doing back in the 70s. And so they started to communicate with these underground polygamists that were all here in Utah. And so they all started to ask more and more questions. And I think, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of men who were part of there were a couple men who were part of the LDS that when you started asking those deeper questions, they would guide you, if you would, to these other communities.
Right.
And eventually 2 of those men got excommunicated for teaching that in the LDS church and came and joined. So,
Right.
but they were guiding people away from the LDS church to these polygamists, and my dad just happened to be talking to one of them and met Rulon. So,
Yeah. And I think too that they truly do. I feel like they were brought in on the
being so blessed.
being sold that this was the one true church, and then yeah, and then they studied and learned and kind of knew a little bit deeper. Because your dad, like both of my parents were LDS. My dad married his first wife in the LDS temple, and then married my mom shortly thereafter. So both of my parents were LDS, and your mom was LDS, but your dad was not.
My dad looked like he was LDS for a long time, and he was probably one of those ones teaching, but he looked like he was LDS and living differently while they were down here in Utah. It wasn't until they all moved up to Pinesdale, the city, that because the LDS church knew that Pinesdale was a polygamous community.
Oh.
When they moved up there, that's when my mom got excommunicated. That's when Dad got excommunicated, because they knew they couldn't prove that he was a polygamist. They're all living in separate houses down here. They couldn't prove that until they moved into Pinesdale, and then they all got excommunicated. So.
Oh, I wonder. My mom's probably on here, and you could text this to me separately if you didn't want to put it out there. I don't know if both my parents got excommunicated or not. I'm curious if my parents were excommunicated. Thank you so blessed for that super chat. I appreciate it so much. Let's see. I know, I love this one. Thank you. Thanks, Jay Patel. Says Mel's our cynical neurodivergent sister in Christ. Yeah, you definitely get me going sometimes, and it's hard. But let's see. I wonder how Cody is able to change the faith of Robin and the kids to be Christian faith when the original beliefs of both are so different. I don't know if he actually is. We watched that episode where Robin's daughter asks him to baptize her, and both of us, you can see the look on their face, their panic. So we did kind of give our 2 cents on that. I don't know that he fully believes that he's transformed them. What?
I don't. So this is just me being cynical again. Robin's never going to lower herself to go to such a low faith. She's going there to guide her daughters, if you will. She's probably going to the church, listening to what's going on, and then she'll come back afterwards and say, okay, they were teaching you this, but this is the greater law of that.
Right.
I feel like they're down there, they don't have their faith here, and so she's going to make sure that her daughters are guided in the right way. To be honest with me, I think Cody's looks like he's kind of done, and so that was probably, okay, this is me being facetious again. That was probably a little ruse that the daughter and Robin came up with to pat his ego of, could you baptize me? Oh yes, I could.
It lessens the blow of her leaving the one true church.
Yeah, and it just adds to his ego that, oh, she's asking me to baptize her, and I don't know how the baptism goes, but it's probably like, well, you're getting the true stuff through me. So
right,
they definitely,
and we did talk about that on our live, where Cody still believes he has, I'm sure, some level of
unless he could become a leader of a church, I don't think he's going to drop down his faith to
lower standings.
Christian church.
Let's see. Somebody says, you mentioned girls in school couldn't wait to get married and have kids. There's always that one rebel that goes against the AUB. Was there anyone that you remember that didn't want children? Not girl-wise. In fact, we were talking about this morning. That Cory was saying, I didn't know if I ever wanted children. And I was saying, I didn't feel like I had a choice. It was inevitable. I was going to have children. And I knew that I had to do it a better way. And so I instantly started reading on parenting books and started taking classes and trying to figure out how do I parent my children better than what I was given. And so I just didn't think that I ever had a choice. Most of the girls didn't. I didn't know very many. I can't even think of one girl that maybe felt that way that didn't want to have. They said it, but doesn't mean that they really didn't go get kids afterwards. Okay, I wonder.
Basically, profit for the profit.
I know. I basically profit for the profit.
Yeah.
Amen. Isn't that the truth? Somebody
In fact,
says the
most
new
times,
course.
The profit is spelled that way. As profit. Yep.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like it is so true. It's really frustrating to watch some of the stuff that you know happens, and it's like, oh, that's funny. He became a leader of the AUB, and now he's got a brand new house. How amazing! Oh, funny how that works. I didn't even know that you get a free home when you join the leadership. Who even knows? And I am being cynical about that, but it is true, unfortunately. And this is another reason why I don't donate to a lot of charities. I want to know how much is actually going to help the people that they claim.
The Lord takes care of his leadership.
Yeah.
Through the little people.
Yeah.
Through the faithful.
Well, and okay, Janice, thank you for your comment here. Because it's exactly true. When you were talking about the leaderships not having accountability for the funds, it reminded me of Cody this season. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you have all these people dumping into a collective pot, but only certain people, again, like we've said before, the AUB makes up the rules as they go along. It depends on who you are. It depends on who the leadership is. It depends on your last name if you reap the benefits of everyone else's hard work. And you're seeing that on a micro level with the Browns. Now throw that into a bigger picture and talk about millions of dollars, and there's the AUB. You have a bunch of people who put their hands in the pot with and they take out and their needs are fully met, but then you have all the little guys who are over there working. We referred to this lawsuit a couple of times about the money laundering lawsuit that the AUB was involved in. The people who actually benefited the most from that didn't have to pay any of that money back. It was the hard-working members who had to go out there and pay $2,500 a family to keep in good standing, because now all of a sudden God's going to judge you and not give you your certain standing in the AUB if you didn't put in your $2,500. That's what made you worthy. That's what made you faithful. That's what made you a good follower. And yet the people who benefited hundreds of thousands of dollars from that, they didn't care. They didn't have to pay their $2,500. They just got to walk away with new businesses. And so you're seeing, they just got to walk away with their doll collections. And that, so if you take what's happening with the Browns now and you throw that on $1 million, multi-million-dollar level, that's the AUB.
So blessed says Mary B. Did you?
Mm-hmm. Where? Oh, yeah. Is she manipulative? Oh, I don't know. I missed that comment. Is she manipulative?
So Mary B frustrates me. Is she a manipulative bully or?
Mary B frustrates me. Is she a manipulative bully, or is she so much trauma she's unable to regulate her emotions? Your thoughts? I'm not sure who.
So,
if you're asking about a question someone else had already asked.
No. So, to the outside world, it looks like a manipulative bully. Within the AUB, you are a leader. She was a first wife. She is a leader with Cody of creating the family. She's the one that is required as the wife to go out and find other wives and to teach them how the family is functioning, to kind of guide them, if you will. And it's manipulating and right. Bullying. And this is how our family, Cody and I have worked together to create this family. We want to have a family that has these rules by them and doing it. And so she is almost, as the first wife, responsible of going out and finding other wives and teaching them how the family functions and helping teach the children how the family functions. That's the job of the first wife. And the first wife usually takes a lot of flack from the other wives that are resisting And Cody allows her to take probably a lot of that flack from the other wives as she's teaching or he's teaching and guiding them to create this family of perfection. And so, yeah, both. That's how they were raised to create and guide the family. They call it guiding of the family, teaching the other wives how they need to react within the family, probably giving them a list of rules that they need to follow.
Oh man, we're looking forward to doing those videos.
So yeah, no, she's the head wife. So, and Cody might be resisting of that. Later on, he's resisting of it, but he sure does probably let her take some of the cannon fodder, I would say, of the rather than, because he's trying to be the good husband that's helping them learn. She's the bad cop, he's the good cop, as they're creating the family. So.
Yep. Okay, do you think that the advent of the internet and things like YouTube threaten extreme religions, particularly the AUB, and like so? Absolutely.
It wakes up. That's why there's some of the teachings within these religions are don't get on social media. You learn, if you have a question, you bring it to your leadership for those questions. And you shouldn't be looking at anti-religious rhetoric that guide you away from it. Lucifer's going to guide you away through the mouthpiece of Mr. Me.
Yeah.
So,
I definitely think it has, and that's why it's being taught more and more over the pulpit. And they're advising people to stay away from social media.
Yep.
I want to give a huge shout out to Meredith Andrews. Thank you so much. That's her first super chat. Thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate the support.
Canada.
Yeah, because
Canadian.
It really does. It's been helping us buy our microphones, and then we just got a new toy today that I'm really excited about, a stabilizer for our cameras. So when we're going out of town, we can do some videos and still have a higher quality. So we're still in the process of learning all this, but no, we really appreciate the support. Thank you. The Black Swan says, can you do a video on the beliefs of demonic possession in the Mormon faith to understand the Lori Valdo case? So I have not followed that case at all. But yes, I would love to do a video on that because I have some pretty strong thoughts about those. I actually, when I very first started podcasting a year and a half ago, I did an entire video where I had what I considered performed an exorcism on me when I was 15 years old. And because I had to have been possessed. So I have that whole video. We've organized our videos and it's under podcasting. If anyone decides they want to take a look at that. Now, I didn't really go into a lot. I went into my personal experience about what happened to me that night, that I was dragged in front of other leaders. I was basically, it was a really hard night of my life. Probably one of the most traumatic things that had happened to me as a teenager. And then I was immediately rebaptized the same night to get rid of these demons or get rid of these whatever I had going on. So I have a small little video about that up already. Again, my own personal experience, but I would love to dive deeper into that. I made a note of that so that we can look into that. Right now we have a list of about 500 topics we want to talk about that we want to start doing.
There's so many rituals that to do that. Rededications, rebaptisms, laying on of hands both ways. So.
Jeez. Somebody says, what makes a religion a cult? So do you think the LDS Church is a cult? To me, anybody who wants to put themselves between you and your maker has the potentiality to become a cult. So really, it just depends on what you want to do with that.
Look up cults.
And I did a whole video on cults, so you can always look that up.
Hey, we're only half a cult because only 5 of these things are what our religion does. Great, you're half a cult. So a cult is just read up. I don't want to go into it. Yes.
No,
you get to choose whether you feel like you're part of a cult or not. So.
Yeah. Somebody says, pay your tithing, don't worry about where the money goes, but we will track every red cent you pay. Kind of sounds like they would use Elon to clean it up, though. Yeah, it's funny. I want to jump down here. Thank you so much, Erica. We'll get back to some of these other questions, but I want to jump to Erica's question really quick. Thank you for the super chat there. It says, because of sister wives, my most recent deep dive has been the AUB. Is it true that the AUB has a militia that works with the local police department? So I have a couple of thoughts on this. Yes, they technically do, I suppose. It looks like she's already had a couple of answers. Yes, that's true. They have a militia. No, they do not work with the local police. Someone else says, yes, they are called the PPP or the Priesthood Police Department, volunteers with guns. This is a deep subject and it causes a lot of controversy. How do we want to answer this? How do we want to... Militia is a strong word. Yes, thank you. Militia is a strong word. Now, okay.
So they had.
We're stuttering because we're not sure how to go with this one.
They had a prophet that was killed. So shut up. They have many specialties within the. I mean, when my dad came in, he was ex-military. There was a lot of ex-military in there. There's a lot of police officers, actual police officers that are part of the AUB that they just don't tell. So that's probably where you're getting they work with the police. There's been police officers that have been let go because they found out they're polygamists. So when we were in Pinesdale, there were police officers. They had their own police force up there that the police in Hamilton would call them if there was a problem going on. So they police themselves. Do they have security for their profit? Yes, they do. So.
Yeah, because this is a very controversial subject, as you can clearly see.
Yeah.
I guess I have a little bit different of opinion. I feel like they've been misrepresented online about what it is they actually do and how they're actually taught. I feel like it's been misrepresented on, I can't remember, is it How I Escaped My Cult or something like that? There was a whole, there was a series that they did where they talked about the AUB having their own militia, right? I mean, go read the Constitution about militias. There's a whole bunch of other stuff you can go into on this. The prophet of the AUB was murdered. They have reason to be concerned when it comes to stuff like that. That does not excuse...
From other polygamous communities. So
we're not we're not over here saying that we're pro anything. I just feel like it got very misrepresented online about the capabilities of their militia, first of all. Go ahead.
My comedy on it was who was saying that he was a part of the militia.
Yeah.
I was like, I assumed that they had more professional trained. There are a lot of AUB members that have joined the military, went through the military. They're military. My brother was in the military for years, so.
Well, and I appreciate this comment too. Maybe not militia, but neighborhood watch program. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
There was an episode, I can't remember what it was, but where they were trying to escape. Somebody was trying to escape the polygamy, and then they had a red dot put on there, like, oh, somebody's looking at them from across a couple houses away, and then they have a laser pointed on them. That was so misrepresented. That was not at all what happened in that situation. But on TV, they represented it as being the AUB has this dangerous militia that they're going to come after a bunch of people, and that's just not always the case. Even in the LDS Church, they have Boy Scouts. They teach the kids how to use weapons. We teach our children how to use weapons. I feel like you can take anything to an extreme, and if you defend in an extreme, then you're an extreme. And I'm not trying to defend the extreme, but I would agree. It's more like a neighborhood watch program, not necessarily a militia. Now, people have different opinions about this. People have strong opinions. We went to an AUB experience a couple years ago, and there were some threats that were made. There were people there who were armed, and Cory walked in packing, concealed carrying, and he was like, well, they kind of suck at their jobs because I walked in concealed carrying and nobody said a word to me. So are they really trained? No. Is it more like Boy Scouts going out in the woods? Could be. I don't want to say we don't know enough about it to have a strong enough, because there's a lot of strong opinions about this.
I had my training, if you were, I was part of the Boy Scouts. I got my marksman merit badge. My dad was military. He taught us to take apart our firearms and clean them and take care of them and lock them back up. I got my marksman. I had to go do hunter safety. It was a hunter safety.
We put our kids through hunter safety.
That was required for you to get a hunter's license. We went hunting as kids. As young adults, we're the ones that brought in the venison and learned how to hunt for our family. My brothers all still hunt. I haven't hunted for years. And so, yes, I proficient. I learned very well from my father. My firearms are all under lock and key. And I don't want my children to be dangerous. So they have all gone through hunter safety too. I haven't sent them to scouts, but
and so it's funny too, because Cory was even saying the episode where they were talking about the AUB militia. Cory was like, if they're going to let that idiot have a gun, why wasn't I ever asked to be on this militia?
Yeah.
Like, I need to be on this militia. That kid should not have a gun.
I was never on a militia growing up.
No.
I was, and so somebody talked about the phone, or neighborhood watch. We were in Pinesdale. Everybody knew everybody up in Pinesdale. If somebody came onto Pinesdale property, it was the phone tree. The ladies knew about it, and it went around. Everybody within
Gossip
Pinesdale
took care of more things than weapons did.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That's
everybody knew what everybody was doing up there in Pinesdale, and it went through the phone tree.
Yeah.
And so that was, if you will, the protection, and they had two officers that that went through all the officer training down in Hamilton and became officers and took care of Pinesdale. So
it's a great question, and we love it. We're just trying to, because there's so many strong opinions. Mostly the strong opinions come from members of the AUB. They're not even necessarily of the public, because as you've seen clearly on Sister Wives, things are so misrepresented. And so this is one of those things that I feel like got unfairly misrepresented on television and by other content creators. They blew these things way out of proportion, made them way bigger or worse, sound way worse than they actually are. And is this somebody, I know the guy personally who was supposedly like the ex-military that was down there teaching all these kids. And so that's why it can be such a controversial subject, that we're a little bit like, we're not wise enough in our podcasting yet to come in and touch these things and feel like we could accurately describe them. Most of the controversy does come from AUB members or ex-AUB members. Do they work with local police department? My sister says, no, I disagree. I think they do work with the local police department. I think that there is a lot of awareness around, especially in this episode that was represented about the AUB militia. Yeah, they're in a small county. I believe they are connecting with the county police. I asked my dad personally, are you connecting with the county police? Yes, he says. So there's so many different opinions about this kind of stuff. That's why we get a little bit like deer in the headlight look when we want to answer that question. But someone says Pinesdale does have actual sworn officers that went through the academy. They do. This is very true. And the PPD was a separate, more secret society. And but
the whole of AUB is a secret society. They are a secret society. Is there?
Oh, and Connie says they absolutely work with local police. Yeah. I believe that they do. I believe that they are definitely taught. Yeah.
Oh, Connie's on here too.
Yeah, Connie's on here too.
Hi.
And so I just think it's funny. This is really the best way I can explain it. when you get a cult, you're always going to have people on the fringe that come in and they are like the fanatical people. And then they want to judge the entire cult by these couple of radicals or these fanatical people who probably should never have a weapon, who should never be issued. And in the minute that they get one, they think they're bigger than their britches and they think they're more important than they actually are. And then they go out there to administer their justice to people because they think in their own mind they're more important than they actually are. But they don't represent the group as a whole. They're the fringe, they're the outside, they're the ones that say, look at me, I'm so important. And that's the only way that they can get their level of importance. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not saying that, I am saying that there people who probably have guns should not have guns.
For a secret society, which I think the AUB has been very good at being a secret society for many, many years, you usually don't print up patches and and all of that stuff and give it to people, showing that you've got this secret society within the secret. I don't know, and I could be wrong. I've been gone for 35 or more years, so they might have changed their tactics, they might have changed what they're doing.
Yeah.
Nobody got patches unless you're in the Boy Scouts growing up. So.
Yeah, or these adult men pretending to be in the Boy Scouts,
Yeah.
we don't know. That's what we wondered. Now I'm not, yeah, so great question. Thank you. We could literally spend an hour just talking about just this subject alone, because of how controversial it is. And yeah. Okay, somebody says, Mel, did you have friends growing up that you could have seen yourself being sister wife? Oh yeah, we joked about it all the time. We joked about how we were going to be sister wives. In fact, some of my very best friends, we would joke about it and talk about it. They ended up having their own polygamy show, and they became on television, and a couple of them actually became sister wives. And so yeah, we would joke about that a lot. It's because
they wouldn't have tolerated me, so
why?
Well, just because I'm not marrying either of them. Any of them.
No.
Getting sister wives.
Oh,
so.
I see. They wouldn't have tolerated you as a husband.
Yeah.
No, but that was back when we're sold the story of how wonderful being a sister wife and a polygamist person could be. We didn't know the actual nitty gritty of things like that. So, let's see. Mary. Oh, and so the question that you answered was about Mary on sister wives. Okay, I missed that for a minute.
Yeah.
Mary seems like she was just never suited for polygamy, but grew up in it and internalized all of it with its issues and as her own personal issues. We all did that. We really did. We all did that. None of us are really suited to live this way, especially, we're all primed, and I know, sorry, it jumped. We're all primed to do this, but none of us actually know what we're doing. They're making it up as they go along. Okay, somebody says, a prophet who makes a profit from our sins. Actually, everyone here who may not know, tithing is fire insurance. It keeps you from burning in the last days. It sure saved our butts here in 2000. Okay, this guy's obviously from Pinestone, which is hilarious. So yeah, they do. They call it fire insurance because in the last days when the world burns, you're going to be saved if you pay that extra 10%. Thank you for answering my questions, and that's why you must continue. You are serving a purpose. Thank you. Let's see. The Lori Valdell case is one that two of you should absolutely review and speak on. I have no doubt the two of you will have perspective on this that would be highly reviewed. We talked about that last night because we actually sat and watched the Gabby Petito show last night and watched a couple of other ones because sometimes we just have to get off of sister wives and off of the polygamy thing because it can get a little bit heavy for us. Yeah. And so that might be one that we'll dig into.
Yeah, like he's answering that.
Who? Where?
Yes, they're called the
Priesthood Police Department.
Department Volunteers with Guns.
Yeah. And volunteers with guns
right.
is really the best way to put it because, yeah, you get a bunch of people playing like they really should not be, should not be in a militia. What was it?
Yeah, militia's a strong word. No, I'm just seeing. I want to see what.
Yeah, militia is a strong word. To be honest, it is more like a neighborhood watch program. Let's see. Was Mary's dad police? I heard that recently, based on Mary's post that she did. I didn't realize he was a police officer. He was the security for the AUB church house down here in Salt Lake. He was that for years, but I didn't realize he had actual police training.
Well, when I think they probably started to learn and take care of that after Rulon was died, it was the police that came in and guarded the community for a while. So
yeah,
and through
I remember when
because
Rulon,
they knew there were threats there.
Yeah, so when Rulon Allred was murdered by a rival polygamist gang, I remember gang cult, whatever you want to call it. I do remember going to church and there was men with guns everywhere. It was scary. It was really scary as a young kid, experiencing that.
For us growing up, we got cattle, so we traded for cattle. So had beef there, but most of us liked. I know Melanie doesn't, but most of us liked the venison, and so it tasted better to us growing up. So we did go and hunt, and we had our freezers full of beef and venison. So
yeah, so
most of us kids liked the venison taste better. Some of them didn't. But
yeah. So I think it's definitely okay.
Welcome.
I remember visiting family in small towns in Saskatchewan. Everyone knew everyone's business.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much how Pinedale is. Everyone knows everyone's business. Well, and it is kind of that way down here too, to some degree, but we don't all live on the same property, so.
They still have phone trees, and those phone trees work all the way up to. Dad used to joke that it was an 8-hour drive from down here in Utah up to Pinedale, and the phone tree was so efficient that something that went on down here would always beat. The rumors would always make it up to Pinedale before he could make it back up there.
I know, it's so funny.
Everybody knew what he was doing.
My ex-husband and I are, because my ex-husband is from Pinedale as well. And so we're in town, and
it is your sister, Katie.
Yeah, and we're in town, and we get pulled over because my daughter climbed out of her car seat. And before we could get from town to the ranch, everyone already knew we had gotten pulled over. I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are ridiculous. Let's see. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for signing up for our membership. Thank you. So Valiant says the only thing that's scary is when you personally know members of the PPD who are just special. Some may want to become Sons of Dan. Yeah, I don't know what Sons of Dan are. You might have to tell me about that later.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is you get a bunch of people who think they're more special than they probably should be. Sister Wives of the Browns wanted to tell the world that there were not child brides, but Mel was a child bride. I absolutely was a child bride. Absolutely. And go ahead. Go.
The Browns, if you would, wanted to show that they didn't have a child bride, but and probably tried to normalize it. There are a lot of families that don't have child brides, but would if they could. So.
Yeah. So, okay, this is going to be another testy one that I don't know that we'll dig too deep into today, but I apologize if this question was already discussed, but can anyone tell me if the AUB or the LDS have negative opinions on African Americans? I've heard they do, but I doubt this is true.
Well,
it depends on what you consider a negative opinion, because in their mind they're not negative opinions. This is where we would go right back to religious superior or supremacy. And so, do they believe that they're superior to? Yes. And do they believe they're superior to a lot of white people? Yes. It boils back down to religious supremacy, superiority.
And the curse of a generation. They believe in curses, so they believe African Americans were cursed, and so that they can't hold their priesthood. They believe the Jewish people were cursed, and so they have to have generational
cleansing, if you will.
Blessings. So just because now, and they believe in 7 generations, so our parents weren't born within the AUB. They came in, so they were given a certain amount of blessings. And it will take a righteous seed of 7 generations before that family has the full blessings of
and that's a whole deeper
and
subject
it is,
than
it's a
we're
whole
going
deeper,
into today.
yeah. And so they believe in generational curses, they believe in generational blessings, and so everybody is less than everybody, other people. Those that have been faithful, those families that have been faithful from the beginning, when Joseph Smith first brought it about, and you can trace your genealogy back to Joseph Smith. You are blessed among the blessed, and or cursed among the cursed. So yeah, that's how they do. They have belief systems based on that.
So it's not just African Americans. It's they feel that way towards anyone who's not really AUB. So you're dismissed. Okay, so somebody, I want to grab this one too. This is funny. Melanie, is your father the leader, planning on more children or having babies? Let's hope to God not. But his dad had his last child at 74, and my dad is now 72. So let's just cross our fingers and hope that doesn't happen. I don't think that it will. I'm being more sarcastic than not. I highly doubt that. My dad's youngest child is 24, which is my mom's baby, and she'll be 25 this year. So she was born in 2000, and so my dad's 72. So I'm not sure. Do the quick math on that. And that's how old he was when he had his last one. And so I'd be surprised if he had any more. I think he's very much adamantly done with that. Laura says, first time catching a live. I love you both. You're my favorite Sister Wives Polygamist channel. Mel, you're so beautiful too, and Cory is so handsome. Thank you. Oh, it's been thank you. Mm-hmm. See, my daughter needs to watch this when she goes and leaves, and she's like, you're gonna go on the live looking like that? I'm like, kid, love you. Let's see. Cody and Mary courted a woman and tried to wait to get engaged when she was 18, but she backed out. I've heard this too. To be honest, I was familiar with the story way back when it happened. It was one of those things I deleted out of my mind. So everyone has asked me if I know who this person was. I did back in the day, but it is something I have deleted since, and I know nothing about it. Somebody says
there's so much dating going on, and
yeah,
at that time, yeah, everybody was dating everybody.
Yeah, because that would have been real close to when I got married too. Is when they were dating this younger girl. And I want to say she was probably close to my age. So I was familiar with it. I just don't remember. Mel, why didn't you continue school tour senior year? Was it allowed? I had a baby. I got married and had a baby. So I didn't go to my senior year of high school. I didn't even go to my half of my year of junior year of high school because I got engaged, and then I quit school and started working full time. And then I'd go to school when I could in the evenings. Which is why I was, but I was saving up for, you're expected to come in with a certain, like back in the day, they would call it a dowry. Well, I'm so young, I have nothing. So I went to work full time and quit school, and then got married a week after I turned 17 and had my first baby 9 months later. So I did not do anything on my senior or most of my junior year, unfortunately. And then when I got divorced at 25, I went back and got my a full high school diploma. What are you smirking at over here?
Valiant warrior.
What's he saying? I almost had to trade 15 chickens, 20 turkeys, and a cow for my wife. Singular. Obviously, she's worth way more than that. That's hilarious.
I think I know who Valiant warrior is.
That's hilarious.
That's why our family got some chickens and.
What, he took one of your sisters? Oh, that's hilarious. Let's see.
My brother-in-law?
Now more of the genealogy makes sense, right? Okay, right. So Natalie says, because the sins of the father, I think there's a similar verse in the Bible. Yep, That's exactly what Cory was talking about.
Sins or blessings. So if you are worthy and you're adding a blessing onto the next generation, but it takes those blessings to build up for 7 generations, and then all of a sudden every generation gets a huge blessing, and that family is considered royalty. So
Yeah.
very faithful family. So this is a belief system within there. Sins of the father, then the next generation is trying to work those sins off.
You were so screwed. Your dad was such a heathen.
Well, and then and then the sin built up, so my kids have got double the sins now, so.
Yeah. Somebody says Robert De Niro is in his late 80s and Hugh Hefner were late fathers as well. Okay, and what's funny here is how my grandpa married a girl who was 4 years older than me, and they had 4 children together. And so my son is the oldest grandchild, oldest great-grandchild, and he went to school with their son. They're the same age. So my oldest and their oldest are the same age. So that's fun to send your child to school with your great-grandson. That's how that worked.
So your uncles are younger than you.
They're not really I mean, I guess they are my uncles, but we don't refer to them as uncles. So yes, I have 4 uncles and an aunt who are the same age as my children.
And your dad's mom could have been his daughter.
Yeah, I dare you say that to my dad's face, that's my dad's mom. My dad does not claim that family in any way, shape, or form. So no, I can't even imagine being a parent with a newborn so late in life. Yeah, I can't either. Like we had our last baby when I was 32, and we did the math. We're like, okay, when he turns 18, he just turned 18. I just turned 50, and Cory's 54. So we're like, yeah, we don't want to do that. We don't want to raise. Yeah, but my oldest 3 are the same age as my mom's youngest 3. So we raised children together. Something my baby at 21 years old would absolutely say to me too. Yeah, we don't want to. So Robin has less than 2 years to leave Cody and have your new brother or sister. Oh, geez. Oh. Theron Benson. For those of you who are new, it's a running joke that Robin is going to leave Cody and she's going to marry my dad and be my stepmom. So let's just leave. Let's not do that, please.
There's a generational curse coming your way.
Yeah, that would be so bad. Let's see. I love it that you're an official member now, Elizabeth. Thank you. I appreciate you guys helping people figure out how to sign up for memberships. I'm not sure how to do that. Maybe if Katie's still on, she might be able to help them. So I provided my own dowry. Yes, I did. I did pretty much. And my ex-husband gave me so much crap about that because I came in with literally nothing. My car and clothes, but I had no dresser. I had no bed. I slept on the floor because my dad combined wives' houses on my 16th birthday. And then I got married a year later. And I literally did not have a bed. I did not have a dresser. I got my car 6 months after we moved in there. And so I slept wherever was available in the house. But we had 17 children and 3 adults in a home, in a 2,100 square foot home, 5-bedroom home. And so I slept wherever I could find a spot, which was typically on the floor in my sister's bedroom. And then sometimes if my dad wasn't with my mom that night, sometimes I'd sleep in there, but my mom had 5 children in the bedroom with her. So there wasn't a lot of space. Let's see. Cory,
yes,
Loving, what are you reading?
Somebody said, Lisa, can you support with the buy coffee link
Yes.
in the description? Yes. We got one. We appreciate that. And
yeah, we do have a buy coffee.
A little video. Thank you guys.
Yeah, somebody
awesome.
Sent us our very first buy me a coffee, and we did a little video. We were sitting at the kitchen table playing cards when that happened, and I was like, let's make a video. We looked like complete straight up hell, but it was great. We didn't care. We loved it, and we're having a few whiskeys along the way. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, we've been doing this for almost 2 hours now. Time goes by so fast. Is that why my dad never had so many kids? To beat the odds? Never considered that. Let's see. If Robin becomes Aunt Robin, you'll have 5 more siblings. That would be hard. I'll bet we'd probably be more welcoming. Oh, Cory, I love your.
No, we wouldn't.
Yeah, Cory, I love your smirk.
Yeah, I don't. Not that I go to their family reunions anymore, but I definitely wouldn't go then. So
No. So Lori from Minnesota says, Cory, I love your smirk. Something tells me you are mischievous. I'm sure you keep your family members laughing. You both certainly keep me entertained. Oh my gosh. He's so, yeah.
our whole family's mischievous. So
We were going through a TikTok account last night and we were laughing at this married couple who does the stupidest stuff to each other. And we were dying. And I'm like, we need to start recording the things that we do. Yeah.
So.
And he goes, yeah, but we're too old now. Like there was this time that he launched off the treadmill and I just laughed so hard. I sat there crying. And then at a time he was putting his pants on, I just pushed him over and he ended up on the ground, pants around his ankles. And all the kids were like, oh my gosh, is he okay? And he's like, we can't do that kind of stuff anymore because
break a hip.
Yeah, we're gonna break a hip. So yeah. Oh, Lisa, thank you for the super chat. Can't find the join button yet. I think it isn't an option for me. Okay, I will see what I can do to find that, or if my sister Emily is still on here, or even Katie, if they might be able to help send that to Lisa. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Or I do have a son right here who could probably do that for us too. Somebody says, I know a few women in their 40s having babies, even surprises menopause babies later. Yeah, my mom had a surprise baby, which is why I was 26 when she was born. My mom didn't think she could have any more kids, and she was 46 and had her last one.
And I'm sure they know about birth control, but they're not
allowed.
Yeah, that's stopping. The Lord is supposed to stop the old. If he doesn't want you to have any more kids, then he'll make that happen. So.
Right. Somebody says, gosh, what a terrible person came up with the idea of your dad marrying Robin. They sound like Terry. Yeah, that was a horrible idea. Let's see. Oh boy, the family trees for you two make my head spin. Oh, you have no idea.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And for some reason, I have a pretty good running genealogy in my mind. And so I can explain things. And Cory's like, how do you even do that?
I'm usually calling my mothers to see if there's any sort of relations or stuff like that. I can pretty much know most of my brothers and sisters and most of their kids. Some of the kids I don't even know. So
yeah,
I've got a huge spreadsheet of birthdays and stuff like that I'm always following. So.
Yeah. Have you guys ever considered writing a book about your lives? We have. I have been told this since I was in my mid-20s to write a book. And it's just been something that I wasn't sure how to go about or even what to do. And then it became part of my life that I guess we laugh about, joke about, but we weren't doing it for being advocates. We just made fun of ourselves. And now I feel like we're in a point in our lives where we want to advocate for other people. And so now it would be more of something that we would go back and consider again on how, writing a book and seeing what we can do. But yeah, I definitely feel like that's something in our future. It's just not anything I know anything about or where to even start or who to even, it's funny. I had my sister-in-law, she's such a sweetheart, lives up in Montana. She texted me the other day, when are you writing your book? And I said, I have no idea. I wouldn't even know where to start. And she's like, that's not true. Look at everything you guys talk about on your podcast. You should get started right away. And I adore her for that. I'm like, I know, I just don't know if I believe in myself enough and yet. And she was like, I believe in you. We're going to make this happen. And she's a sweetheart that way.
I don't necessarily want to write a history. I'd rather probably write a novel so I could get away with all the humor in it, the dark humor.
The names have been changed to protect the non-innocent, because there would be no innocence going on there. Need to stop the Robin joining Mel's family. It's going to give me nightmares. Yeah, no kidding. Katie says, sorry, cooking, did you need something from me? Someone was just trying to join as a member, and she wasn't able to find the button, so I was hoping you might be able to help her with that, Katie. Lisa.
Bite your tongue, Jay Patel.
Heavenly Father said, here's one more kid for you to parent, Mel, just for old time's sakes. Yeah, she's the same age as my son, and, well, she's a little bit younger than my son, because my mom's last three and my first three, I said, are the same.
Oh,
very same age. No,
yeah,
not us.
We're grandparents.
Yeah.
We believe in birth control.
Right. And so, no. Okay, I love this comment. Thank you so much, Brady, for this comment, because it's hilarious. So in the Q&A that we just did, that we posted a couple days ago, we talk about this, about the birth control. And and again, AUB makes up the rules as they go along. It depends on who you are. It depends on your last name. And so some of the prophets have come back and been very adamant about being in people's intimate relationships. Other prophets are not. My dad is one who believes that they should stay out of people's bedrooms. You're laughing. So it says, so Melanie, your father is no longer enjoys intimacy because he's supposed to be only for procreation. Right. My dad is one who says stay out of bedrooms. It's none of the priesthood's business.
Well, and that's because of Valiant Warrior shit.
No birth control, but sponsored by no birth control, but sponsored by eating medication. Okay, I have so many things I could go with that. Like, I wonder if they sell, because you know when you go to your children's basketball games at high school, and then they sell advertisement things. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they could put that out at the AUB building. Here's an ED sponsor. Yeah. Here's this sponsor.
That's only priesthood meeting. That's a priesthood meeting sponsoring thing. So.
I know. Like, here, let's sponsor this message is brought to you today by. Do you have family pictures with all of your mothers and siblings? We do. We both do. We did add one of those. I think I'm going to start putting some of those, like I was saying earlier, up on our membership page. My sister just found a picture of me with my dad and his four wives at my wedding. I don't even remember taking that picture, but it was just my dad's 4 wives and my ex-husband and I.
Yes and no. We have an old picture that my mom gave me of all my older brothers and sisters, and myself and my little brother were the youngest in it. And then it was like, then there was the next generation where I'm one of the older ones, but all the older siblings had all been married and weren't in it. And then there's another one, I guess, with because my middle sisters were, I don't even think Katie was in that one. Maybe she was. Katie, were you in that old picture? She was
very small.
Probably the baby. She was probably the baby in that one. And then we've got kids from there. So all of them, I think there's one, but it didn't even have all of them at my dad's funeral. So.
At your dad's funeral, that had 99% of everybody there. I thought about posting that one too.
Yeah, that was like one of the last ones where there was a lot of us in there, but there was some of the wives had passed on at that point too. So
yeah. So we do have a few, like we have some from camping trips and stuff like that. So yeah, we're putting together some of those, but we still want to be respectful and cautious about our family members who are still in there. And so we're still,
so.
Yeah. So
I was a little worried because you posted that and I hadn't talked to all of my siblings, and some of the siblings are on here now. So.
Yeah. So we'll be blurring out some people's faces and stuff like that. But yeah, you can, in Cory's father's funeral picture, there is probably 250 people in it.
Yeah.
I think it's just the wives and the children and the grandchildren. Mm-hmm. Maybe 300 people in it. It's going to be a big picture. Okay, you could pull info you shared from your videos to get started from the writing process. Maybe start off with a rough outline of what you want to cover in a book, and you are the focus of AU. The focus is the AUB focus. Yeah. Definitely, we are like in the process of that, and I apologize. You can hear that stupid Alexa in the living room keeps connecting to our phone.
To your phone?
Oh, I disconnected it. I turned it off.
Yeah, I'm probably start mine out kind of like the Book of Mormon. Cory being
born of goodly
crazy parents.
Oh my gosh.
So.
Let's see.
Crazy Vietnam veteran.
We will probably just keep talking for a couple more minutes, and then we'll probably wrap this one up. We're going to be dropping our next Q&A video tomorrow, so you guys can watch for that. And then we'll be starting season 3 of Sister Wives right now, probably later. Oh, somebody says buy me a coffee link doesn't work. I'll go check on that because I just do a copy and paste on every single video. So I'll look and make sure that that's right. Let's see, self-publishing. Yeah, we should. Somebody says Cory should write a book called Nefarious Revelations. Yep. And then Valiant says, see Alice. I don't know who that is.
CEE.
CEE Alice. Yeah, maybe I'm. And then there's somebody says The Prophet's Daughter sounds like a great book title. So one of my friends that I just adore, she wrote a book. Dorothy Solomon wrote a book called In My Father's House, and her father was Reuel Allred, and she's actually written a lot of books about polygamy. So if anyone wants some good books to read, I would highly recommend hers. She is amazing. I'm kind of with Cory on the topic of fiction. You could spill all the tea, but change the names for legal reasons. I've toyed with the idea myself. Cult life is hot right now. Plus, it could help. Yeah, I think that might be a good option so that we're not...
Katie wasn't in it.
Okay, so Kitty was too young.
Yeah, Kim.
Yeah.
Colleen and Clayton.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Yeah,
but my dad's only been the prophet for 2.5 years, so 3 years. I only became important like 2 years ago. Other than that, I was never important. So, and I'm still not actually important if you ask the right people. I know of an author who started with short stories of her life, and then Viola, she had a successful and comedic book that was picked up by a publishing house. You don't make as much as people think. Yeah, and I think for me, now that we have started to speak, Cory's over here smirking. Now that we have started to speak out and want to become more advocates for people, I just have been emailing back and forth with Tanya, the owner, or the whatever, I don't know what you call her, of Holding Out Help. And so we're looking to add that button to our page where you can donate to Holding Out Help, which helps women and children coming out of polygamous situations. They hire very specific people who are trained in that type of therapy. Okay, Cory's laughing his butt off. I don't know who he's laughing at.
Valiant Warrior.
Oh, you're laughing at Valiant Warrior? Okay.
And Jay Patel.
So much for just 1 hour. I know. We love doing the lives too, and honestly, we haven't been online. Somebody wrote me a comment a couple of days ago, which I actually really appreciated, and was just saying, Melanie sounds like she's getting a little bit more cynical, and don't take this wrong. I love you guys, and I actually didn't take it wrong at all. I really appreciated it because, yeah, this can get kind of a heavy subject, and sometimes I don't always know if what we're doing is productive, and so but we definitely do like to do it, and then of course, so sometimes we just take a step back, but we really do like to do these lives. They're fun. See, Alice is a play on certain medication. Oh duh. Oh my gosh, I got it. That's hilarious. Thank you. I know what it is.
Okay, and you know who they're talking about?
No, I don't know who they're... You have to tell me later. I don't know.
It's your new mom.
That's so mean. She was my best friend for years.
I do.
My dad just married another woman who was my best friend for years. Okay. Fun. I read that book and wrote to Dorothy years ago. Dorothy is amazing. So I actually got really close with Dorothy in my 20s. And she's one of my all-time favorite people. And she is just the sweetest thing ever. Cory just had a lightning moment about C. Alice. Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, after I read it out loud, the whole audience, like everyone on the live probably got it but me. So, how long, what?
There's just a lot of people that know you and your family's thing, and I appreciate that. Hi, everybody.
And the thing is, I still adore her and have zero issue with her at all. I adore her, and I adore her children, and it definitely was weird. It definitely is, my dad came to my house to make the announcement to us personally before it was announced anywhere else, because he wanted us to know, wanted me to understand wanted me to know what was happening before it happened. And I appreciated that he took the time out to come over here personally, but I was a little taken back and a little stunned. I won't lie. It was very shocking. So, how long was your father the person people went to for problem solving? Seen this asked in other forums. So he was for years the marriage counselor type person. In the leadership, this will be a snarky little answer. In the leadership of the AUB, there's typically set up like the Mormon Church. There's a prophet and then 12 apostles. But when you can't keep the 12 apostle positions full because they're all pedophiles or money launderers or they're in prison, then one or two of the apostles get all of the positions, which is what happened with my dad. Because most of the leadership is in jail, they're pedophiles or they are, money launderers. So that being said, my dad held a lot of different positions, and so he was the media person that if you wanted to do anything with the AUB, you would go through him, and he would handle all the media. And then he did a lot of the marriage trainings and the marriage classes, and so he did that for years. Mostly my whole life, I don't remember really a time that he didn't do that. Now, if it was something that wasn't, then he would, if it wasn't something that was really extreme, it was just like, oh, I don't like my sister wife the way she does dishes, then he would hand that down to a bishop or something like that. But if it was like, I don't like my sister wife, she's, doing naughty things with my husband that I'm not allowed to do, then he would handle that kind of stuff. So, Cory's having a side live with his internet friends. I know there is. Mel and Cory, you're the best. I'm so glad you were both willing to share your history. Thank you. We love spending time with you too. Thanks. We actually really do enjoy the lives, although sometimes we hang up and I'm like, maybe I said too much. We should probably be careful about that. What's funny, okay, so Cory's been really deep diving and studying the endowment lately, and what's the purpose of the endowment, right? He goes on this deep dive the other night. He does these things, and then he's up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm rolling over like, what are you doing? So he rolls over and he says to me, do you know, and I'm asleep, and he says, do you know what the 5 points of fellowship are? I'm like, are you watching Lord of the Rings? What are you doing?
Kind of. It's just one of the different religions. I'm just studying all the religions. Lord of the Rings is really good with...
Yeah. And so it was just funny because in my brain, yeah, so we do have a lot of... There's times where we talk about things, and we're still in that deep dive on the endowment. Let's see. Lisa says, I'm here, but I'm way back at the beginning, having issues with the laptop and working from the phone, which is lovely talk to text. I just wanted to say hello, and I'm going to try to get this computer working. Well, welcome, Lisa. Yeah, this one is definitely going to probably be a longer live because we have nothing to do tonight, so we'll sit and talk.
Mine is they said that my book should be called The Small Plates of Cory. Yeah. They're probably the sealed plates of Cory right now. The Lord hasn't allowed them to be opened and read yet. So we'll get in and interpret them or translate them here in a bit.
Yeah. Hi, Emily says, hi, friends. I caught you guys live. I love it when you guys catch us live. And I have been creating live events. And what you can do is you can go to our page and under the live tab, then you'll see the live event, and you can always click notify me, and then it will notify you when we are going live. Imagine all these years later, I became a Sister Wives fan and realized Dorothy was related to Christine. It's a small world. I'm in Pennsylvania. Yeah. So Dorothy would be one of Christine's aunts. So Christine's dad and Dorothy would be siblings from different moms. We eat up all the snark like AUB members eat up the casserole. That's hilarious. Let's see, Tammy, I felt the same learning Joe Darger and Christine are somehow related. Mind blown. Yeah, most polygamists are related in one way or another. I'm trying to think about how Joe Darger was related to Christine. But yeah, most all of us are, well, except for us, because our parents married in, so we're not always related to a lot of them. Let's see. Do you think Cody and Robin are watching your videos and your live videos under fake names? Robin will need a new storyline and can steal your experiences. That's hilarious. I've heard that they have watched it. Mary's told me personally that she has watched us. And so I think that there are some that do watch us. If they do, that's great. If they don't, that's okay too. Yeah, I'm curious if they do. I think that my dad has people watch us for him and then gives him back, like, okay, these are the important things, these are not the important things. And so, let's see, I think it's great that you've got a history fanatic.
Cory's translating plates
Cory.
right now. Zap!
That is so true. Yeah, Cory is a huge history buff and is a huge, because he wants to understand, like if he reads something, tell me if you feel like this is true. He wants a verification of that in like 10 different forms. And don't just tell me that this is true. Tell me why this is true, and then I want A, B, and C to back that up.
Well, and you came up with this idea, but you stole it from this group of people this book. Okay, and they changed it from this group, and so yeah, I'm always
What
going
were you
back.
saying that
So
you felt like the endowment was originally came from the Scottish what?
well, from the Masonic, from the Freemasons, can't remember what it is, but from the Scottish Freemasons, which were taken from the Templars, the Knights Templar. So yeah, there's a whole ton of history. Yeah, Connie, the book of Cory sounds good, but the nefarious book of Cory or something like that. That's
Yeah, we gotta add nefarious in there
some
somewhere.
good stuff in there. The nefarious plates.
You've got to give your dad some level of recognition for being nefarious. If he's going to get excommunicated for nefarious revelation, we should just capitalize the shit out of that.
The nefarious book of Revelation. So
Yeah.
something like that. That'd be good.
Yeah, somebody says, oh, I remember the 5 points of fellowship. You practically had to hug some old guy through the veil. Yeah. And I've been through the endowments. Cory has not. And so a lot of times he'll ask me, and I'm like, hun, that was 40 years ago that I did that. Well,
what did they tell you about this?
It was 30 years ago, yeah.
They rushed me through at 17 and said, boop, 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 boop.
Well, I went through it a few more times for other people that had passed away. Somebody says is there a documentary about Pinestyle? There's a documentary about the AUB that features portions of Pinestyle in there.
Pinestyle.
Yeah, and that's on YouTube. You can just YouTube.
And I'm looking for it too. If you guys find it, send it to me.
Oh, we've watched it several times. We have it on our YouTube. I have it saved in my YouTube history.
Okay.
Yeah, or saved on my YouTube. I'll pull it up for us.
I haven't seen it forever. Our family was not allowed to be in that documentary. We were.
By your dad, not by the priesthood, but by his dad.
Yeah, my dad didn't want any of his kids being caught on camera. They knew that the cameras were up there, so they shuffled us off home. So
yeah, and I am in there, and so was my mom.
We loved it because we didn't have to go to church, because they were doing some filming of the church buildings. So. And
they warned us all ahead of time that they were setting up camera crews and they were going to film an episode or film a church here in Utah and up there. I can't remember if they had Mexico in there. They might have. Hopefully God was being creative when he had a sense of humor when choosing where to bury Cory's plates.
Yep.
You're gonna get struck by lightning, and she's gonna be some chick that comes in and had a lightning bolt thinking she can take my place. Oh, that's hilarious. Cindy says, good for Mary. She needs to know she's supported. She really is. I have always adored Mary. We've always gotten along really, really well. And
thanks, little sister.
I would hate to have my life displayed for people to pick apart. I mean, we're voluntarily putting it out there now, but we have more creative licensing.
Yeah, the Scottish rites.
The Scottish rites. Yep. Thank you. That's exactly what it was. Because you were talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, I was reading about it. So.
Yeah. Let's see. Before you know it, Robin will be creating memories with your picture book. No, please, no. Cory, get out your viewing stones or whatever the thing was called. Yep.
Urim and Thummim.
Yeah.
Or my, whatever fancy Juno. Yeah, I'll have to figure it out.
The Urim and Thummim?
The Urim and Thummim, but he had a viewing stone in a hat. So.
Seer stone?
Seer stone, there we go. See, you know all the history.
I know, but I don't always understand the wheres and the whys of the history like you do. And so that's where we are a good combination because you understand the whys of why they did things.
Yep. Oh. And see, they still hand down that seer stone within the Mormon church. So polygamists had to get their own seer stone.
They just made one up somewhere. Connie, thank you. Yeah. Connie says, you guys are doing great. Love it. Thank you. It is always a little.
My brother-in-law.
It's always a little nerve-wracking when your family watches, because my mom watches, and I always apologize before I pick on my mom. But then later she'll text me and she'll be like, "You're doing so great." So thanks, Mom. Cory, what kind of hat do you plan to use for your translation process? He has a fedora. No, that's Olivia has a fedora. Yours was an Indiana Jones hat. Cory loves. Cory loves his Indiana Jones hat with his jacket that has patches on the elbows like Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I should. But my hat right now is because I go out to Florida and hang out.
Your
kids.
sun hat.
My big sun hat. Yeah. So I should get some really good revelation with that huge sun hat.
Cory, or somebody says you should use a beanie, be more modern. Then you look more like your brother-in-laws. Let's see. I'm late, maybe I've already been said, but it seems like Coyote Pass has been divided. It looks like it has, and I'm stunned. I am absolutely stunned that they have divided that.
You even got my name spelled right.
The Kerner Book of Nefarious Revelations. That's hilarious. I am so surprised about the Coyote Pass thing. I honestly don't think under any normal circumstances that division happens fairly. It's just because it's so publicized, blah, blah. I think that's the only reason that
we better look like we divide things equally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Who's the prophet's apostate? That's a good one too. That's a great name. That could be a good child's book.
Yeah.
That would be so horrible. Who's the prophet's apostate? And then you teach the kids all the things not to believe in.
That seed planting that Robin has done so well, it goes both ways. When I think, was it Mary that said something like Cody wouldn't do that, or Robin would do that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That seed planting, oh, that's right, we would never screw over Mary on this, and so that could have been some good seed planting. Everybody's kind of raised.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, if you're sitting there saying, well, Mary or Robin and Cody, I don't think that they would screw us over. He would never do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good seed planting right back that way too. And so
true.
Now he's dividing it evenly.
Well, and now
Good going, Mary.
Well, now one of the things that too I wanted to point out is like, look at Janelle. Like Janelle totally took a stand. I got a lot of kickback when I was saying in one of our last that I was saying Janelle didn't advocate for her children. These were obviously in the earlier years. She's changed that so much, and now look at her advocating for Mary. And what's amazing is that ever so often you will find a woman with a great amount of integrity like this in polygamy, and she will make sure. Katie's mom is one of these women who will advocate so greatly and so fairly for the rest of her family. And you don't find these women very often. They're not readily available to polygamy. Most women in polygamy, in my experience, have been women who are all out for what can I get? I need to have more or better than someone else does. And so I really want to hand it to Janelle for having that. She wanted to be fair. She wanted to do what was right. She wanted to make sure that everyone walked away from this as whole as they could be financially. So Katie's mom is on, Katie's on here, and I love that Katie's mom reminds me a lot of Janelle. She's an amazing sister wife. Let's see. Okay, shoot. Let's go back up here. Sorry, those comments jumped really quick. Surely the idea for the faith did not come from Scotland. Guys here definitely cannot cope with more than one wifey.
No,
not at all. Not for the faith, but for
some of the rituals.
The rituals and the ceremonies that they do. Yeah, but definitely not the religion.
No,
probably kept under wraps due to filming and maybe part of the future shows. Just too bad 4 ways. Honestly, I feel like 4 ways is more fair than 3, because what if Robin would have left Cody too? Then it should have. If Christine was there, then that would have gone 5 ways. Really, Robin should have her own autonomy too.
All of the money from the sister wife's closet went into that property.
Yeah. So, what do you give your loved ones after they leave the LDS or AUB? A really big hug and tell them congratulations. That's what I would give them.
Give one.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Maybe you could be more specific about that question. I'm not really sure.
After they leave? Oh, when they, yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the dark side.
No, welcome to the light side.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, but they were trained their whole lives that they're coming out into the world that I don't know whatever they need. Yeah. Ask them what they need and try to get it for them. So.
Right. I think we just try to be as supportive as we can and just love.
A listening ear.
Yep.
Let them start to unravel what they're why they came out, what they're going to start to communicate everything that they're doing, and it is a long unraveling of everything that they've been taught. So
yeah, somebody says, I'm curious about this too. Okay, what do you think Mary is going through when she says she has to sit in it, be uncomfortable? Is this her healing process 2 years out of the cult? Okay, from my own experience, I left and then had one of my most challenging crises of faith afterwards. And what's funny too is I did hear something recently where Mary said, this wasn't a crisis of faith for me, this was and then she went on to explain whatever it was. And I think that's really interesting because I left the polygamist group at 23. And then I went through a major crisis of faith. I had a sick child and I believed God was punishing me, and I went back for 2 more years. I didn't leave fully till I was almost 26 years old. And this happens a lot, especially, and this has been proven, scientifically proven, when you're raised in a cult, it changes the brain pattern and you have different brain chemistry when you're raised in a cult like this. That this will be a lifetime of unhealing and a lifetime of unraveling. And there's no way that you can come out of a situation like this. And I left my point in saying that, I left in my 20s. Mary has now exposed herself to the entire world and didn't leave till she was in her 50s. That's a lot of unraveling to do. There's just no way that that's going to just happen overnight and that she's just going to have like these ahas of, now I'm healed. This will be a forever, for the rest of her life, healing experience, And then what? We went and did ayahuasca 5 years ago. And that was a whole nother unraveling of healing that we did. And so this will be a forever, especially when you are raised in a cult. Hopefully that makes more sense. So I think that she's going through it. She's probably going through it hard right now. And especially too, when you want to stand up and advocate for other people, like maybe that's what her Worthy, I don't know what her Worthy Up program's about, but maybe it seems like maybe that's what she's trying to do with these. Then yeah, you're going to start having a lot more to work through. What are you smirking at over here, boy?
Yes, Black Swan saying $2 from the sister wife's closet. Yeah, but you've got to understand they believe in the teachings of the widow's mite, and
oh gosh, here we go.
Robin gave all that she had, and the division of Coyote Pass is the blessings of the giving of all. And so she should, even though she gave a widow's mite of $2,
it was everything she had.
Everything she had, and that blessing is a quarter of Coyote Pass. So
yep,
that's what you get for being a good sister wife and righteous.
Yeah.
So
yep. Somebody says, did Cody give them their money back when they sold the house? And if so, how did he come up with the $400,000 down payment on his new house? Yeah, so many questions around this. Like, the levels of unfairness that you could unpack from this are like disgusting.
Yes, he's the head of his family, and so we shouldn't criticize how the Lord's helping him get all those transferring of monies.
She was saying I was talking about the apostle book regarding after one leaves, just being silly. Okay, so what do you give your that could be your label. What do you give someone who just leaves a cult, the AUB or a cult? That's funny. That's good. Red Janelle invested $350 in the farm and is building a new house, so she got a good chunk of money somewhere. I'm so happy for her. Yeah, honestly, I am too, because not everyone that gets caught up in this religion has the same opportunities that these brown women have. Now it came at a price because they had to publicly put all their lives out there for ridicule and speculation and all sorts of stuff. So it came with a price, that's for sure. But a lot of people just they don't have the same opportunities in that regard. They leave quietly and they leave very poor.
Oh, okay. They're doing the math for us. Okay.
Yeah, my impression is that you can be a horrible person and break all kinds of commandments and you're still going to the celestial kingdom as long as there is no sex stuff. Is that accurate? In a nutshell, yes. But yes, a lot of people believe that. Yes. that's not really true. But a lot of people do believe that. That's why
There's some people that believe that they got their calling and election made sure and are going to the celestial kingdom that had sex stuff. So
yeah.
they had the right last name and the right cover. So
Yeah. So
but yes, that's probably
again, people make up their own rules and their own guidelines in polygamy.
Yeah, and it depends on who's teaching what. You're going to get some form of heaven if you don't murder somebody.
That's funny.
And deny the Holy Ghost. So
yeah,
but you'll just be a servant. So you can even do some sex stuff and still make it. You're just a servant. So.
Yeah, and so no, it's true because a lot of them make up their own rules, and in this religion too. And I'm sure it's this way in other religions. I can just only speak to this one because this is where I was born and raised. Is like, as long as nobody knows my sins, I'll go ahead and judge you for things that I've done worse. I'll go ahead. It's not what's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's not that way at all in this religion. It's well, I know what my intentions were, but your intentions must have been nefarious, and so therefore you are worse off than me.
No, Brady, I'm included in that 39, so are you included in 34?
Yeah.
So 73, how many are part of the AUB now?
10,000. No, there's only going to be 9,200. Or
well, no, what I'm talking, he's adding up the families, so I would say 3 of those 39 are still a part of the AUB.
Oh, I see.
So,
and I have 4.
One brother that has 2 wives, one sister that is a second wife, so her husband has 2 wives, I think, and then one brother that has no wives but still believes in it.
Right.
Last time I talked to him. So 3 of the 39 are still a part of the AUB, would consider themselves a part of the AUB.
Yeah, and I have, out of the 34 siblings 34 children my dad had, 4 of them are still actively. I have 1 that lives in Pinesdale, and then 3 that live down here.
Yep.
Why are you laughing at that one?
Forget. So.
Okay, Valiant says, all my moms are pretty cool except for one now. Maybe now that I'm older and have a family, I can't even begin to fathom how my dad supported so many children. Unfortunately, most of the time they really didn't. Most of the time, I mean, if your family was anything like ours, you guys did have the ranch and you guys could like...
We supported ourselves.
Right, but we starved. Like, we really didn't have food a lot of the times. We really were... my mom did the best that she could, but if it wasn't for the local Catholic Church, we would, they supported us with food a lot.
And you didn't even know about the Pope? And you were going getting Catholic food?
I know, right? No, we really, and it's because it was this church that was right behind my grandparents' house, and we would go wait in line and get some, get what we could from there, but we ate a lot of potatoes, because that was really potatoes and powdered milk and stuff like that. It's sad when the wives leave. Hard to start over, but it's the same in monogamy. Some women divorced. Some women divorced are poor too. Absolutely. I mean, I was monogamous when I left my ex-husband. He never got a second wife, not from lack of trying, but just didn't. And I left with 3 babies and no high school education, and it was hard. Like, I worked 3 jobs at one point to keep a roof over their heads, and it was not an easy way. It was not easy to leave at all. So no, it's definitely not just in polygamy. Fortunately for me, I left in my mid-20s with only 3 babies. The problem is when polygamist women want to leave, there can be anywhere from half a dozen to a dozen children attached to her, and that's what can be hard. How did Mormons escape speaking in tongues, or do any of them? You all do all the crazies, so why not that one?
Well,
my cult spoke in tongues, and it's what people asked me a lot about.
Well, because in the teachings, the Lord, and that's what I'm assuming speaking in tongues is, the Lord would have spoke only to the PSR, Prophet, Seer, and Revelator, and so he is supposed to get all of the downloads or the stuff. So if somebody else starts speaking in tongues, I'm sure there were speaking in tongues. It was just called nefarious revelation. Somebody else got their own revelation from. So you guys call it speaking in tongues. We call it nefarious revelation. You're supposed to only get it from the Lord's anointed. And if you're getting your own download, yeah. And I think speaking in tongues is, I don't know. You'll have to enlighten me. I think it's when somebody's maybe speaking and you can't understand them, but somebody else translates for them. So.
And I think that happens in the AUB. It just happens in more
within their little
selective
community.
community. It doesn't happen like in church. It's not a big
there
thing.
You go.
Yeah. Yeah. And so okay, let's see. Oh, just scrapping. Good to see you again. Let's see. You can only join from a computer or an Android. I had to learn the hard way too. Sometimes I'll give you a QR code on your TV and you have to undo. Oh, thank you guys. Yeah, I see a lot of people asking how to join our membership stuff. Thank you guys so much for being interested in that. Oh, there was a question. Somebody says, I know, I wanted to go back to that question, but I think it jumped. Let's see. Oh, I don't know if I actually do want to read it. It's a hilarious question though. Something about which one of Brady Williams would be my sister wives. That's funny because, yeah, they know. Oh, if you could get sealed to any of Brady Williams' wives, who would be your next new sister wife? That's funny, but yeah, because
she'd have to get a new husband too. Probably better if she went and got sealed to Brady.
Well, you don't want Brady as a brother husband?
No, I don't want you to have it. Yeah, never mind. I don't want to have another wife, so.
No, we're good. No, those were some of my best friends growing up with some of his wives, and so we talked a lot about it. It was funny. I'm so excited to finally see you guys live. I saw you guys, your guys' story on Pop Psych when you did that interview. It's interesting to hear your guys' side and your thoughts on everything. Thank you. Welcome. Yeah, that was a great interview, and my understanding is we're going to be doing one or two more with them. We're still working through some of those.
Yeah.
So, somebody says, who is Brady Williams? He had a series called My 5 Wives, and he taught, I think they only went 1 year, maybe 2 years. I can't remember how many seasons he had. But yeah, some of his wives were some of my best friends growing up, and they're wonderful. I mean, we saw Brady a couple months ago, and he's a great guy. I've always really liked him. Meanwhile, in the Mennonite church, through my single mom group, speaking in tongues was of the devil. Yeah, see, that's what I guess I was always taught, that was speaking in tongues was more.
Valiant Warrior, a few tongue lashings maybe. That led to speaking with a wooden spoon.
That's very true. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes that's where I would have to probably. There were sometimes we were getting yelled at, and you couldn't understand what they were saying, and then there was another wife kind of explaining or.
But don't you think that Cody and Robin kind of do that? Apparently, Robin thinks Cody speaks in tongues because then she has to interpret for him on everything. Oh, let's see.
Your father's just so mad he can't understand him right now. Okay, is that speaking in tongues? I don't think he was getting any sort of divine revelation at that point, or.
Yeah. So yeah, he had a series for sounds like 2 seasons about 10 years ago. Somebody says, why don't all of the first wives marry their husbands legally and any wives after that have spiritual marriages? That is typically what happens. When I married, I did not get married legally. I only got married through the AUB. And I actually never even got my kids' birth certificates until my oldest was like 6 or 7, because you just didn't want the government to know anything about you. Mm-hmm. And my ex-husband his family is from Mexico. And so we wanted to take our children down to Mexico, and we couldn't without a birth certificate. And so that was the only reason I finally decided to get my children birth certificates. My oldest was I want to say my oldest is probably 7. And that was a process to try to get those birth certificates. And so, yeah, but back then I didn't know any different. I mean, hell, I was 8 days into 17. I was afraid of everything. And so I never legally got married. I did, however, go and get a legal divorce. So that I could file for legal custody of my children. Mm-hmm. And so I got that legal divorce on my 10-year anniversary of when I would have been married to my ex-husband for 10 years. So.
Yeah, I guess speaking in tongues was just never something, I guess, that was taught within the AUB, really.
Yeah.
Other than probably it wasn't whoever, it was the devil or Legion
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah.
Because the Lord is clear.
Yeah. And let's see. We were all told that if we honored our priesthood or were selected in Gryffindor, we could speak Slytherin. So true. Oh my God. Yeah, Cory, who's your favorite sister, and why is it Katie? Katie is one of his favorite sisters. We love her. Yeah, only the men could speak in tongues in my group. Yeah, if the women did, it would be considered of the devil. It's funny. My mom did a lot of. My mom said I gave her too much credit for how many women she helped get pregnant, and so I will now take back that credit. She didn't help anyone. No, I'm just kidding. But she did heal a lot of people and did help a lot. And so there was a lot of people who would consider that of the devil or witchcraft. So yeah. Let's see.
Valiant warrior. I think you're my brother-in-law.
The Pentecostals handle snakes as
Connie,
proof of God's anointing. Wonder what happens if Robin handled a snake. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I know a lot of people who would say that Cody was a snake.
Say that
at points.
again.
The Pentecostals handled snakes as proof of God's anointing. Wonder what would happen if Robin handled a snake. I think that, yeah, a lot of people think Cody is a snake, so I kind of feel like maybe she thinks she did.
She's Slytherin.
Yeah. In my cult, you spoke in tongues to get the Holy Ghost. They believed you had to do it in order to get into heaven, that being and being dunked for baptism. Yeah.
Submersed.
Sometimes that yeah, speaking of tongues is a tricky subject. Sorry, my brain went a little bit blank. There's no money in speaking in tongues. That's true, Brady. Thank you. It's when the Holy Spirit descended on an apostle in a highly popular evangelical, oh my God, I couldn't get that word out, evangelical spaces, I think in Acts. So yeah, they do say that it is a way to have God speak through you. Now, part of the temple ceremonies and stuff, there are some
Speaking of tongues?
Yeah. So that could happen, yes. Mel, does your mom still have her business, or is the business still around? It is still around. My mom no longer has anything to do with it. She stepped out of it, oh gosh, probably 20 years ago. She stepped away from it. She started it when I was 14, so it's been around for 36 years, and she stepped away maybe not quite 20 years ago. My little brother that just recently passed had Down syndrome, and then my mom had a surprise baby, so that just got to be too much to have both of those situations. My mom was 46 when she had her last baby, and that was a lot to have a Down syndrome child who was 6 or 7, and then a new baby. So she stepped away from working. I got the Holy Ghost once. We did everything together. Oh gosh. Oh gosh, that's bad. Okay, what time are we? We're 2.5 hours in. How are you doing? Let's see. Well, I haven't even looked at our chat count and see how many people we have on chat. Oh my goodness, we have a couple hundred people. Yeah, Cory doesn't know what he did with his phone there. Wow, and somebody says, wow, you guys are still live. I know, thank you. I was actually just thinking that same thing. Like, how are we still live right now? My Holy Ghost was supposed to be my conscience, but it just got me into trouble all the time. Yeah. Let's see. Do members of the AUB believe in angels living on their future planets? That one's a deep question that I don't know. That could be answered several different ways. Yes and no. It depends on what you... Yeah. Do they believe in angels? Yes. Do they believe in spirits? Yes.
Yeah, I'd have to look into their teachings on that. It was more along the lines of, they call him Angel Moroni, but he was actually a messenger. They're the messengers.
Right. There's a lot of different ways we could answer that question. Yes, yeah. And I mean, the most unclear way would be yes and no.
Because angel is just a designation for a person of what they're, as a messenger to people here on earth. And so would that person who is designated as an angel be on the planet, absolutely. Yeah, he's probably going to obtain. He'll be on the next planet for sure. So,
Right.
because he's one of the most righteous. So.
Yeah. Somebody says,
I don't
Cory.
want to confuse.
I know that's why the way we answer it
differences
could
of
be
age.
confusing.
Yeah.
That would be probably something we'd have to do like a whole video on, or a question and Q&A video. Somebody says, this is James style 4+ hour streams. I know, like we did a live with him once and it was over 4 hours, and by the end I had to pee so bad, it was unreal. Somebody says, Cory, did the women you licked the butter off of also get excommunicated? No, because they are girls. They were rushed through the endowment house and married to a righteous, holy man. So, because that's how the AUB does things, so fairly. I'll just speak up for Cory.
Yeah. Brad doesn't get excommunicated.
Just butter does.
Remarried.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Somebody says, I'd enjoy a video just about the AUB Afterlife stuff. I don't know much about it. They don't really talk a lot about it. It's not really, that is one of the things that Cory's like diving into right now. My mom's like, you guys are going to be experts about this.
Yeah, there are videos about it.
There's videos about it?
Well, yeah, the God makers kind of teach or tell. It's a kind of a science fiction. It is. The God makers is kind of tells the basis of what the belief is in a very scientific way, which was probably pretty cool. I thought it was cool when I was a kid. So.
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of the teachings are very similar to the LDS Church, so really they're going to have a lot more information on it, but it's been diluted over the years with the LDS Church, so you're not going to find as much. That's one of the reasons people convert into the AUB or into polygamy, is because they feel like the Mormon Church has diluted the information and they want the whole information. So they
Where
feel
the
like,
heck are the planets, and is Elon Musk building rocket ships? No, you are going to ascend and create your own planet out of the void, just like is taught in the 6 days of the creation of this planet. That's one of the lessons that you're going to have to learn, is how to create and bring together in the void your own planet. And so that's why it's called the God Makers. You're learning to become if you've ascended, then the next lesson is how to become a God and create your own planet. So, and then once you create it the way you want it, then you can populate it
the way you want it.
The way you want it, with your spirit children that you and wives, your righteous wives, have created. So.
Yeah. So, let's see. Sorry, too many questions. Where did they get the thing about the planets and becoming gods? Is it in the Book of Mormon?
No.
But it is in the endowment.
Yeah, it's in a bunch of different writings. I'd have to look into that. A bunch of different. I learned it ultimately, and then had questions about it from the God makers, and they probably tell you in those the God makers. It's where you can find their readings, but different prophets probably talked about it, and a lot of those teachings the LDS Church doesn't teach it anymore. So
yeah, the LDS Church stopped teaching them years and years and years ago.
God doctrine,
and we're not proficient in that enough to really go into it too deeply.
Just what I've been taught.
Yeah.
Taught from my dad.
But that could open a whole nother can of worms. I don't know if we're ready to open up quite yet.
I read the Dune too. Really like that one. All of the all of the Hobbit, everything like that. So yeah, it's whatever story you want. I'll have to go back and reread. It was so long ago since I learned all of the God Maker stuff.
Yeah. So that's a whole other deep.
Like you guys asking me about the Hobbit. I can tell you some highlights of it, but.
Yeah. But you can go onto YouTube, type in the God Makers. You'll see a bunch of stuff pop up. Random old lady says, do you, I almost didn't read that because I thought that maybe I was making fun of somebody, but it says, do wives count even if they hate the man and leave? Doesn't sound like any kind of heaven to me. Yeah, right? So it's funny because if you hate the man and you just leave and you don't get a release, yeah, you're bound to that man for all time and all eternity is what the belief system is. Now, there have been some prophets who have changed their minds and said, nope, the love of the woman is what seals that marriage. If she doesn't love him, she's not sealed to him anymore. There's other people that come back and say, that's a bunch of baloney. I own her for all time and all eternity. And so that's one of the reasons why we say that they make up the rules as they go along, because nobody really knows for sure.
And most of their teachings actually contradict other teachings and other prophets. So
yeah, and so that is one of the things. But yes, it is always taught. It was taught in the earlier days of the Mormon Church. Mm-hmm. Yes, 3 wives, 3 whatever. Then you get your own planet. And I think it's so funny because people like get hung up on getting your own planet. And somebody in here says, I read it earlier that
being excommunicated.
That they're like, oh, so all this planning vacations, family vacation planning is going to come in handy one day. I'm like, yeah, that's funny, because then you'll be able to plan for your own planet. Where the heck are these planets? And is Elon Musk building a rocket ship to land on them? Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. And you found a sweet Cory that loved you and your kids. I know. I don't know how. It's so funny because I don't know how I got Cory coming from the group that we came from and then not knowing each other while we were actively in the group.
No, it's the same thing. I've kind of had that conversation of, I saw what an amazing mom you were and stuff like that. I felt like I was lucky too.
No, thanks.
And we had a great friendship before so yeah, you're like, oh, he's kind of a cool guy. So.
Yep, I had to ask Cory out though because I was scary and he didn't ever even consider that he could. Well, and I was married, but not anymore. But when I got single, I actually asked him out. Let's see. Considering your background in high control religious groups, does it make it hard for you to be religious today? Absolutely. I would absolutely say that it does.
Spiritual. I would say that I have some spiritual connections. Spiritual. I believe in certain spiritual things. I have no connection to religion, any religion. And I detest dogmas. So somebody telling another person what they need to believe or need to do, no, they are as long as you're connected spiritually to your maker, the universe, whatever it is, you are going to become the best version of yourself. Anybody who steps in and says, oh, this is the way you do it or that's the way you do it, and here's some dogma you can... No.
Well, I like this statement. Thank you so much, Valiant Warrior. It says, ultimately, who knows what is out there and what our part is in it? The issue I have is when the unknown is monetized and used against us. Mm-hmm. That's exactly our point. That's why sometimes we hesitate to answer some of the questions because I don't want to profess to know. I don't know. But what I do know is when someone else tries to make money off of that and tries to assert dominance and control over me, my family, whatever, or other people as a way to ensure your salvation, that's when I start to have a problem with it. So we do hesitate, we stumble over our words sometimes because I don't want to profess to know all these things we don't know. But what we do know is that there are people who do take advantage of other people in this. Let's see. I think the planets are in the book of Abraham. It very well could be. We need to be more. We haven't looked up at that. Yeah. Sometimes people ask us the questions. I'm like, you do know that this is just a belief system. It doesn't make it true. Let's see. Can we all take up a collection to send Cody off to his planet already or early? That's hilarious. But if you have your own spirit children on your planet, they don't get their own planet. No, it's just they do. Like they do. The way that it's taught is you just have to. It's your evolutionary experience. Yeah. And so you'll go through the whole evolutionary experience of being a human on a planet, learning everything that you need to do, and then your time comes eventually. So
then you're going to have spirit children, and then you're going to send them create a planet, and send them down so that they can learn all of
Right.
that stuff. So
You wouldn't want to deny your
Yeah.
children an evolutionary experience of,
Just
hey,
make
this
up-
is what you've learned.
this
Same
make
thing.
up a thing. Let me see how. Yeah, that's what I'm always. I'll write a book about it, and so.
Yeah.
But yeah, you probably. I'd have to ask on the belief system of it. If once our heaven, we go to heaven, and we're with all of our God and and then we get to start having spirit children, and then we create a planet to send those children down. So we'll be making tons of planets.
Yeah.
So.
And I like Tracy, thanks for this comment. All the sacrifices so that you can get to a planet, and all of your feelings don't matter, so shove them down, is so that you can be a god. But their God is very emotional, so okay, thank you. That's confusing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So much of it is so contradictory to each other, and that's what I feel like. In high controlled religions like this one, it's like you're just running in circles, and it doesn't matter. Like, wait, I got this part down. Just kidding, we changed that. Now it's like this. And so you never know if what you're doing is this right or is this not right, or did I just spend all this time doing this for now what? Now the goalpost changes all the time. And so Valiant says, thanks for agreeing with me. If you'd like to know more, please join my new religion I'm starting. It will only charge a 6% tithe. And that's funny.
Mine will make more sense. So I'm going to just start a whole new thing about these planets and stuff. I think that they're going to start a sun, because you're going to be a god, and so you're going to be really shiny, and you're going to build your sun or your planet that's a sun, which is your heaven. And then you'll get the planets, build them around to send those spirit children to. And then eventually you're going to crank it up, and you're going to build then if you did that good and that all worked out, then you can now build a whole solar system, and then a universe, and you can keep building. Yeah. So it depends
It's
on how
infinite.
much of a god you can become, where you're creating everything. It's probably something they teach. I just didn't get all the teachings. I just got the small portion of it.
I do have some books downstairs on the Adam God doctrine.
Nice. Well,
They were written by some way back in the days. There are probably some episodes on Mormon stories about the Adam God complex and original Mormon doctrine. That's a great resource is the Mormon stories.
and it's one of those things that it's more of a story of what you can become, but it'll all be worked out afterwards. We don't know all the details.
Yeah.
So I'm going to write up some good details to make it.
And some of
better.
these concepts are so deep into the religion and the doctrine that they're hard to have conversations with online, because then it can get too heavy and too thick and too deep. And so we try to be a little bit more flippant about it, which can then be offensive to some, because we try to make a little bit more light of it. But we're talking about stuff that people take extremely seriously. I mean, talking like they would, it is one of the most extreme beliefs and serious beliefs. And so I'm not trying to make flippant or light of it. It's just hard to have conversations like this on a Q&A on a live when these are such considered deep doctrine.
And you got to understand too, I was given a certain amount of knowledge, but it was probably a certain amount of teachings, because I was curious, but I never went through their deeper classes. I never went through their endowment house and went to special priesthood meetings that you could ask.
These were not
higher
taught in
people.
general meetings. You had to be special.
They weren't taught to kids either. So, yeah.
Yep. So that's why these are not things that are just common knowledge for most AUB members. These are things that are they have a general grasp of it, but they don't know any of the deeper concepts of it, and so that's why it's harder for us to talk about them online.
And I might be confusing you guys, because I used to read a lot of science fiction, and so the Adam God doctrine might have a bit of.
And Cory's sometimes people don't know if you're being like. Yeah, if he's joking.
Yeah.
Strikes me as the founders may have possibly had slighted, inflated egos, and that the gents in the AUB continue to have self-regard. There's that version of it too, to be honest. Let's see, but if you have what? Okay, let's.
Where are you reading that one at?
Where?
The one you just read.
Up here. Strikes me as founders may possibly have slightly inflated egos, and that the gents in the AUB continue to have high self-regard.
Oh, absolutely. They're the Lord's anointed. You can't be the Lord's anointed and not have a huge head. So
Yeah. My grandma always said there's more than one path to God and no one knows the one true way. And see, and that's where you're running into some of the problems with cults like AUB, is that they strongly disagree with that statement. They say there is only one way and we're the only ones that know that one way. And so that's where you can
hold to the iron rod,
right.
Not go through the wide path that leads you down to destruction.
Right. And so
iron rod is the word of God.
Yeah. So they're definitely like these can get into some deeper concepts. Okay, sounds like multi-level marketing for spirit planets. That's hilarious. Is there something in the AUB or the LDS religion about having 6 kids? It brings 6 or bringing 6 people into the religion. I feel like that is a common number of 6 to have in LDS. Not necessarily. I don't think so. I think it's just a number that's randomly used because it seems like a lot. And so
my mom went with the 6 boys and then finally got the 7th, which was a girl, and quit.
Yeah.
So
my mom had 11, and so let's see. Karen, I raised my 2. Oh, okay. Let's see. What does it take to be a god? The Road to El Dorado. Is that really a book? That would be interesting if that really is a book. But yeah, I do have a bunch of books like this downstairs. Oh my gosh, I love all your videos. Thank you for all your efforts, all the way from Namibia, south of Africa. That is amazing. Nice. Thank you for being here. We have been so surprised at how many people we get from all over the world. It has been mind-blowing to me that we are, that's what I told him, I'm like, we're just these 2 little kids in Utah, and I know we're in our 50s, but we still feel like children. We're just these little kids, and
I act like one.
Yeah, he does, and yet we can connect with people from all over the world. Like this is amazing.
Amazing human beings all over the world.
Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. Let's see.
The AUB science fiction. It is.
Well, that's why when he rolls over the other night and asked me about the 5 Fellowships of the Ring, we just recently did an entire. We started.
Not of the Ring, but
yeah, of the Fellowship. Is because we recently did all of the Hobbits and all of the Lord of the Rings, and I was like, what are you doing? Why are you watching Lord of the Ring in the middle of the night? So I thought that was funny.
And science fiction is a lot of times written better than some of the more. It's written better, more eloquent, has more knowledge to it than sometimes religions are written. So religions are really written to be confusing. So, and contradict each other. So,
and Tracy comes back with, and this is a good point, Tracy, on the same level as any other cult, but to some people it is their entire life, honestly, and they believe it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And that is what's hard, especially where we have so many family members still in it. I still want to be respectful, and sometimes I feel like we can get a little too flippant with it, because we still do have so many family members that fully believe in this. I mean, obviously my dad being one of them. Let's see. In your opinion, Cody left the church, but do you think he believes he's getting a planet? I have no idea. Honestly, I think that, yeah. I mean, my ex-husband is a meth head now, and he believes he still owns me. So, I mean, there's hope for anyone. So, let's see. Greetings from under the Alps in Slovenia. That's awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Be as flippant as you want to be, please. You will always offend someone who believes something. We really will.
Connie, narcissists are alive and well in the AUB?
Yes, they are.
That's the Lord's anointed you're speaking of.
Yeah. Maybe one day you'll start to get apostate viewers from one of the Mormon God planets. Yeah, possibly. I've never watched Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. So I didn't either. This last
corrupted
watch,
her.
Well, the last watch that we did is the first time I've ever sat down and watched them all. And it's because they started to come out when I had small babies, and they were 3 hours long. It was unrealistic for me to sit and watch them. And so I just never got into them. I read The Hobbit when I was a kid, and I'd put it inside the Book of Mormon or my triple combinations. Are you kidding?
Yeah. So I could read it during some of the meetings and stuff. So I was an avid reader. I read They wanted us to read the scriptures, but I read everything I could get my hands on. So
Oh, that's funny.
The Hobbit, I did. I sat and read that.
It
whole
came out
thing.
when I was in the first grade is when they put it out there. Bree says, love your videos. I'm late to the live. What was the turning point that made you realize you needed to leave? And how did that decision impact your relationships with those who stayed? So I left when I was 22-ish, 23, and I had a 2-year-old. So I was probably closer to 22. And the prophet, right before my dad, we would go to his family Sunday school on Sunday mornings, and he was staring at my daughter as she was playing on the floor. And it was the creepiest, grossest smile ever. And like, she was a piece of meat. And I just decided that I couldn't have that life for her. And that I couldn't make her do the things that I felt like I was made to do. And that was really like the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And then I left. I was gone for about 2 years. And then I went back. I had a baby that had a lot of medical conditions. And I went back. And I stayed for almost 2 more years. I left when I was close to 26. And because then I was just like, what am I doing here? I can't do this. I can't raise my children in this. And left for good. And then Cory just got booted out on his butt at 24. He got kicked out.
Scott's butterfly.
What do you say? Scott's butterflies, Linda? The men are in for the shock because in the next life, goddesses rule. Women run the new kingdom. Well, I would absolutely agree with you on that one. Oh.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of shocked people when they pass on. So.
Yeah.
6 is.
Valiant Warrior, you should be a guest on our podcast. We clearly know. This is what we
do.
hate, is because you guys know who we are, but we don't always know who everyone else is.
I think I know who Valiant Warrior is, and he should be a guest on our podcast, and his wife should too. So. They should be a guest on our podcast. It would be amazing.
Yeah. And we're still learning how to even talk ourselves. Mm-hmm. And interviewing people is still going to be a minute away for us because we're still figuring out all of this on our own. Cory says, once you start your new religion, you could graduate from the AB prophet's favorite son-in-law to the AB prophet's favorite prophet. You could do that. To the AB's prophet's favorite prophet. No, I think that's funny. So you're not my dad's favorite son-in-law anymore. You'd be the prophet's favorite prophet. Cory's more visual. He needs to be able to see it and read it in order for it to sink in.
Because you're spelling it wrong. I'm like...
Because it should be spelled the prophet's favorite, Profit, prophet. So yeah, we're just trying to figure out how to even tell our own stories yet before we can talk about someone else's stories. But yeah, Cory, we both left. You were 24, huh, when you got excommunicated.
Yeah.
And then I
would be a horrible prophet. I would be telling them that they shouldn't be following any of the dogma. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was the first one to leave out of 350 grandchildren. And I left for good when I was almost 20. We met when I was 22, and we just became friends. And then because my best friend, the one that married my dad, that's how we met, was through her. And we became friends over a couple of years. And then he left the AUB completely at 24, and I was still married, and then I got divorced, and we started dating. We got married when I was 27. So yeah.
That's a good thing Katie said.
What'd she say?
Should ask Connie if she partook in the quest for queenhood.
I think Connie's who I asked, and Connie said no, that they never did quest for queenhood, but I don't know. Yeah, so you're both doing an outstanding job. Thank you. Thanks. We appreciate it. It's been scary, and I won't lie, every time we do these lives, we'll hang up and we'll be like, hopefully we didn't say anything. I'm for sure a queen, she says.
Just an AI bot. I don't think you are.
So Barbara says, Mel, who is next in line to be the prophet after your dad? There's some controversy about that, just like there was some controversy about whether my dad should be the next prophet. There always is. There was an outlined way that things were supposed to go, but nobody ever follows that. Because why? Oh, the AUB makes up their own rules as they go along. So I really don't know. There's people who think they should be, who absolutely should not be.
It depends on if he assigns somebody before he passes away. If he doesn't pass, or if he passes away and hasn't assigned the next person, then they've got a magic 8-ball that they call the seer stone.
Oh my
and
gosh.
They all shake it and pass it around. Will I be the next prophet? Doesn't seem to be.
It doesn't seem to be in
passing
your
it
near
around.
future.
So the 8-ball seer stone. So
No. That's hilarious, though. So it is up for, when my dad said to me probably 15 years ago that it will never be somebody outside of Salt Lake. So they do have apostles or leaders in Montana and other areas, but it will never be somebody who doesn't live in Utah or live in the Salt Lake Valley.
We're moving to the Salt Lake Valley.
Yep.
I'm next in line.
So, yeah. So that's the only thing I know for sure. But the people that they have on the council right now is mind-blowing to me. But, there's been pedophiles. There's been people who, literally died in prison because of their pedophilia. And, money launderers and all sorts of stuff. So they just know how to pick them. Let's see. I liked seeing Melanie's sister, Hope. She'll be back on soon. She will. She actually wanted to come over tonight and be on the live with us. She was on it at the very beginning. But she does want to come over and film some stuff with us this weekend. So she's just kind of in a different place where she tries to make it if she can, and then if she can't, she just doesn't. So we just kind of go with whatever she can make happen.
Connie, do you know Valiant Warrior personally? So
let's see. Apparently that's something they did in Utah. Took Mel. It sounded like some Utah shit I never went to. Oh, Quest for Queenhead.
Yeah.
It was a Utah thing, but people from Montana came down, people from Cedar City, people from southern Utah, everyone came to Salt Lake for the Quest for Queenhead. So it was something that happened
down here,
but everyone participated in it. It was one of those really big events for the year. It's like, how are you going to know what cattle is available on the market if you don't bring it to the market?
Yep.
And that's what the Quest for Queenhead was. It was a place where you had cattle displayed, and how do you know? Cedar City might have more prime cattle than Salt Lake has available right now. Montana might have more prime cattle than Salt Lake has. You have to bring all of the, yes, I'm being very facetious about it, but in order to know what girls are available to be married, you had to bring them all into one spot and then display them on the stage all at one time. And that's basically what that was available for. Let's see. Robin Brown wants to be the next prophet. Well, she does know how to do everything. That's what I definitely like to say. This is our opinion. People were raised in the AUB totally different, that have a completely different experience than what we had. And that's just how it is. Oh gosh, Corey's laughing at something. Next prophet is to be someone that has the hat. That's very true. So my dad became the prophet because he was next in line of seniority. And the prophet died. He didn't realize he was going to die that day. He made a revelation that he wasn't going to die. He died an hour and a half later. It defaulted to my dad, basically. So I'm really not that big of a royalty. Somebody passing for normal. Hi, passing for normal. Let's see. Did you two ice block? I did. Yeah. That doll is actually right here on the floor. Oh, look, you can barely get a small little glimpse of her right there. We just have her sitting on the floor right there. But yeah, we did. We ice blocked our entire lives. That was something that we always did. Corey said they didn't do that in Montana, but we always did. Down here, they banned it. They've since banned it at a lot of the parks because it tears up the grass.
Yeah, I don't know if my sisters went. We just always had snow. It felt like on the ground. So
yeah, and we did. We went to the parks.
Summer we were working.
Yeah. Melanie, your dad was the tallest. He didn't need a hat. Yes, he was very... Oh my gosh. Okay, so when somebody called him Gandalf the Grey...
The White.
The White. Oh my gosh, I was dying because he literally came to our house dressed up as Gandalf the Grey for Halloween one. Gandalf the Gay. That'd be so bad. It's so hilarious for Halloween one year. And so it was hilarious.
Then he got ascended.
And now he's Gandalf. I know. It's funny as hell.
He's got the new outfit for Gandalf the White.
Yeah.
So he had a big tall hat, so he's got the biggest hat. That's why he was the new prophet.
And he's very tall. I saw him the other day, and he looks very he's getting older. He's 72. He's definitely getting older, and he's not standing up as straight. He used to be 6'8", and now he's definitely getting a lot shorter. You know, he's just starting to lean over.
Bring back our doll collection of one.
So if you're confused, somebody says they're confused in the chat. Back when Robin's doll collection thing came out, we have a porcelain doll. I used to collect dolls like this too when I was younger. And but I bought most of mine at garage sales for like 50 cents because I was poor. And so when Robin's doll collection came out, we grabbed our little doll and put it on our table right here as but it's one that's covered in like spider webs and stuff, and it just, we only have it to scare our children.
We use it for Halloween
because we're great parents and we just scare the hell out of our kids every chance we get. So yeah. So okay, I think we are going to start wrapping up here soon. Love you both. Got to run. All of your followers are on here are amazing. One final thought: no one in Montana. They're afraid of the train station or the pit. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So. Yeah. But I think we should probably wrap up. We've been going for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. This is getting crazy long. But we love chatting with you guys. We're going to. We'll probably do another live here pretty soon. We used to do a live on TikTok once a week and then YouTube, but I have not been active on TikTok hardly at all. I had to get rid of some of the social media, and so Reddit was killing my brain. I had to get rid of that, and TikTok, I haven't even really posted anything on TikTok for a minute. We've been hyper focused on Instagram and YouTube.
Yep, and she's been studying or being on social media and stuff, doing all that for us, and I've been going back into the old books. So I can get you guys
some more information.
So I sound at least credible when I'm doing it.
Yeah. So we will probably try to do another live here and answer some more questions. Watch for our Q&A. Our second part of our Q&A, we'll drop it tomorrow. That one got a little bit more spicier because there was a lot of questions about sex in the AUB, and so that one will have a lot more of that kind of stuff that we talked about. And then we're going to start watching episode 3 and making some commentary about or season 3. And so we'll be making some commentary on that too. But thank you guys so much. We really appreciate all of the super chats. We appreciate all the financial support that you guys have given us. I mean, these microphones have been amazing. We've been able to put so much money back into buying equipment that we didn't even know we needed. So we really do appreciate all the love and support.
And for all the family that's on here. All you guys are my family.
So much family on here today.
I appreciate it.
And if you haven't liked or subscribed, please feel free to share our channel with anyone who you think that can use it. And also, please remember to do your work. Do your healing work. Right now is the best time you can ever start to heal. And that way you can love your people better, and you can love your people stronger and deeper. So start your healing work if you haven't. Keep going if you have. And great job for all those who heal daily. It's an amazing thing.
Get a good laugh in every once in a while too.
Yep. So everyone have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
See you guys.